Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup. This is where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today, the main topic is very simple. It is BFDI because there's a double up of BFDI episodes because there is the BFDIE that releases weekly, and then there is also the TPOT episode which premiered yesterday in theaters and is indeed releasing today right here on YouTube. So that is indeed going to be the main topic. By the time that I'm currently talking to you, TPOT has not released yet because it is the morning of the 30th. However, I will currently, I will pretty much, what I'm going to do is the next segment that you're going to see is me after TPOT released, taking a look at TPOT and BFDIE in their order, the same order that they played in during the feeders. And then afterwards, I will also be taking a look at... Then after that, we'll be going back to the past to take a look at a show they're going to be taking a look at first in real life, but not in this life, okay? So, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you over to after I have watched TPOT, because that's what I'm going to do, okay? So, let's see how TPOT 21 is. Good luck to me from the future. Let's hope it's good. Come on, let's go. Alright, that is TPOT 21. So, of course, that is a massive episode, so we've got a massive little discussion piece going on. It's been a couple of hours since the episode released. I watched it, I got to marinate on it for just a little bit. I got to see what the public perception of it. As usual, it's negative. I mean, like, at this point, who likes anything anyways, right? It's the internet, right? It's the internet. Nobody likes anything. But with TPOT, there's some very solid critiques, right, that can be made with the whole general aesthetic, right? Because at around TPOT 19, okay, it's a thing that, like, from time to time definitely hit. However, in TPOT 19 primarily, right, what ends up happening is the tone of the show goes drastically down in terms of, like, mood. It goes down mood. It becomes moody, right? It takes itself with this air of seriousness because serious things end up happening, right? Like TPOT 19 puts itself in an unrecoverable state of seriousness, right? In the sense where, like, everybody is dead. There is pretty much nobody there that can be covered. There is just very little around, right? Which means that, like, it ends up with this air seriousness with the TPOT 19 and TPOT 20, which ends up having to be a flashback episode because it's all gone to shit, right? That's the best way to describe it. It's all gone to hell. Which means that at the end of the day, with the vibe of TPOT, that is how it goes, right? But instead, in the other episodes, it did do seriousness, right? However, it wasn't world ending, like literally, like this is. The closest is definitely TPOT 15. Dimensional shift, at the end of the day, is a very important, like, you can tell the stakes are high in that episode and the seriousness is high. However, it still keeps it fun because there's a challenge in the middle that teams are trying to do, right? Same thing goes for, like, the episodes after. One is off doing the deals and everything, and things are important. However, it's still got that challenge in it, right? But here, but like with TPOT 19 and TPOT 20, it absolutely just took it to, like, this cannot continue in terms of, like, the fun aspect of it. It pretty much cannot continue, which means that a lot of people definitely felt and still do feel like this tone isn't what they want, because at the end of the day, a lot of people, they want to watch an object show for fun, right? Like that is something that a lot of people want. They want to watch an object show for fun, right? So that they could to see funny things. It's comedy at the end of the day, right? They get to want to see the funny objects, do goofy things, and then have some arcs and stuff. But like in general, keep a vibe all around. Like certain subplots, basically a subplot can be serious, but the main plot of the show should still remain lighthearted, right? What happens with TPOT is the main plot ends up being super grim, right? And maybe the subplots can be more lighthearted. However, like like winner or loser or whatever, for example. But like in general, they can be a little bit more lighthearted. However, in the current state, the main plot is grim. That is the main way that I can describe it. Main plot is grim. Subplot is nice, rather than what people usually want. Rather than what a lot of people want out of an object show, which is a fun main plot, and then maybe we can, sprinkle in seriousness throughout the subplots, right? And you see, that is what, for example, BFDIE does. BFDIE is the other way round, right? BFDIE is supposed to be main plot fun and subplot a little bit more serious, right? There's a couple of interactions, Pin and stuff, but like and Leafy stuff, like some of it's like important, quote unquote, but like in general, it never goes that deep. That's like the extent of it. It never goes that deep. And for this right, and for TPOT it does that. First of all, like again, this is still absolutely the mission statement of TPOT. Like I know, like it was definitely hard to kind of get into this mode because it took so long to get here. However, this was the mission statement from TPOT. Again, the words from Michael in why we split BFB are still really, really important, and they echo true to this day. You can really tell. That's what they're doing with TPOT. They're doing long, branching story arcs with great writing and with a lot of seriousness. This is TPOT's mission statement, and it always has been. The thing is, at the start, you've got so many characters that you just kind of have to take it on the low key, right? And here, now like getting into the late TPOT, you start properly getting into what the vision truly was. Because I mean, you see from all the times that one was hinted, this isn't something that we came up with on the spot. This was planned for a while now. So yeah, in general, it's something like it. And I think, it's just kind of the virtue of, also writers who grow to a level, right? When people grow to a certain level of quality, of capability, they want to try something like this, right? There's a reason why I grew into this, right? There's a reason why other shows become this, right, on average. Because, like, in terms of the pure fun is fun. However, you always want to try to unlock yourself narratively, and a fun show usually doesn't allow you to unlock yourself narratively, right? Like BFDIE can be fun, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's significantly more formulaic than this is. You just have to be 100% honest with it, right? Like BFDIE functions in a more formulaic format. BFDIE, which is supposed to be the current just fun law show, is extremely formulaic, right? At the end of the day, right? Like it does a specific type of thing. Because that is an object show, quote unquote. However, I think TPOT turning into this definitely can hurt a lot in terms of the fun value for a lot of people, because of course, like TPOT is like, especially in a wider OSC sense, because like, I mean, out of the big two, they're now both serious, right? Like TPOT has turned into the serious one, and II is still the serious one, which means that like II currently is in a little bit of a in-between phase, because it's kind of doing what TPOT was doing, with like there's challenges that are goofy, but in general the main plot is still serious, right? But like, so now those two are off there. Who the hell remains? Animatic Battle at this current moment is more popular than II. However, that gets one episode a decade. So like in general, it doesn't really end up okay, man, it gets like one episode a year. So like in general, it doesn't really seem like that's gonna be something that we can really rely on for the fun value. And BFDI is ending, so I can definitely understand the concern, because like TPOT is getting serious, II has always been serious. BFDI is ending, and we don't know what's next. Animated Battle doesn't happen, so what's left for us? Fun at the top game. What's left for fun, right? So I can understand the critiques. However, like in general, I think that like it's okay. Like in my personal opinion, TPO's not failing at this vibe, right? Like it's kind of one of those things. Like I think the people that don't like this vibe, they don't like the vibe. I don't think that this show does it wrong, basically. I don't think that Teapot does this kind of seriousness wrong. I think it does a lot correct, actually. And it's very planned. You can see this episode is a very complicated episode, but you can see how tactical it is. And I'm going to talk about it, of course, in a quick moment. However, I'm just kind of getting my general Teapot state of Teapot talk out of the way before too much else, right? But like, I don't think it fails, but the people who don't like the vibe are just the type of people who wouldn't like it in any capacity, right? I don't think, like, I really don't believe that the people who don't like the mood that TPOT 19 or 20 have been set, like, to be honest, I don't think you could have rewritten TPOT 20 for those people to like. Like, in terms of, like, keeping those same main story elements, right? You cannot rewrite it in it. Like, it's not a subtle thing. It's just the direction, right? It's just you're just not liking the direction. Personally, I absolutely like hearing it out. I like both seriousness. I like both fun and seriousness. And, you know, especially me who's looking at more global object shows, it doesn't feel like I have options, you know? Like, there's tons of shows I can watch. At the end of the day, like, from smaller creators and everything, and they're excellent, right? And there's so much I need to catch up on still, right? When, like, for somebody who's mainly just watching Teapot or mainly just watching, like, the Jack and Jellyfin animation epic, I can understand the concern, absolutely. Okay. However, the main thing that I want to point out, though, is that TPOT 21 isn't this. TPOT 20, when I said, I always, when I point out the mood, I point out TPOT 19 to 20 is definitely with the grim mood. However, this is not. TPOT 21 is the one exception that gets sprinkled into this cast, and it's very necessary because you know that TPOT 22 is going to be serious. You just know it. TPOT 22 is extremely important, and I would not be surprised if it's an hour long. To be 100% honest, TPOT 22 feels like the make all be all to me at least, especially because it's 22. But like in general, TPOT 22 feels like it's extremely important. And then we end up having this episode that kind of ends up having this. It needs to be entertainment focused because TPOT 21, it's coming off of what is 2 hours and a half of back-to-back seriousness, right? In terms of what's going on in Teapot, right? Which means that like 40 minutes plus like like an hour and a half. Sorry, 2 hours is if you consider Teapot 18, which obviously you wouldn't, right? So like it's coming off of an hour and a half of just pure sad vibes, so it needs to try to entertain. So how does it try to entertain? Well, let's watch it. We have here at the beginning too, well, like the first batch of minutes, okay, end up having to remain in this vibe. Why? They end up having to remain in this vibe because they need to sort something out, right? Of course, we end up at an unrecoverable state after TPOT 20, and something has to happen. So the first batch of minutes end up having to be a little bit more proper, as two, we end up discovering that two ends up figuring out that they have to get going, right? They realize that like while they've been depressed and it's been super hard for them to get anything done, and you see how long it takes them to get the voting results written. It's just really hard after so much bedrotting. However, like, they realize they have to get this done at some point. So they start working on it. And in the meantime, Grassy ends up being the only person reasonably left in the hotel that has any semblance of an idea what's going on, because Winner and Loser and Fiery Jr. end up hiding in a bunker for a while. So Grassy ends up going down with words of encouragement and ends up just kind of strengthening it. So then, for example, how does this thing work? Well, we end up taking this section, right, after about the 5-minute mark is when I think the episode officially switches in vibe. But why? Because here, we're still having Grassy, in general, like, the vibe is still grim, of course, because Grassy's the only one there. However, here you can see that the vibe isn't negative, it's cute, in a way, right? Because at the end of the day, seeing Grassy just kind of full solo it, and just kind of try to fix things and go working on it, at the end of the day, is cute, right? Like, it's cute to see Grassy, try to work out life on his own, because there's nobody else around. So even though it's a bad situation, you still get to see a different vibe than just pure sadness, right? So at least work is being done around this mark. And then for the next few minutes, that's what Grassy does. We end up having Grassy, connect with the Force and making them eat rice and stuff, which is pretty nice. People are actually being nice to the Force for one time in life. 2 is improving. We end up finding out the results. Bato gets eliminated on a team, I think, it was the team that went up for elimination. It's kind of one of those things where it feels it was a complicated elimination. A lot of people don't like Tennis Ball and TPOT. However, Tennis Ball has just that BFDIE buff, and also has just that kind of fun vibe to them that kind of makes them difficult to eliminate. And Bottle didn't really do that much in that episode either, especially considering they are so relevant in another episode that you might have Bottle fatigue. So as soon as Bottle doesn't do anything, you're immediately like, okay, got him. They immediately demolish them. So that's fair enough. And then after that, Lai didn't get that many votes because Lai was actively mean, but by just being so prevalent in a vote to save, you just kind of survive anyways, even if you're kind of mean. So, and then we end up having the other voting results, which end up having none other than Tree eliminated with about 24k votes on that pact yet again. That is a thing. A lot of people are expecting Fanny to get eliminated. I think Fanny got so much overprotection from the fact that they were first out. You'll notice, they end up getting 15,000 more votes. That Fanny ends up surviving actually pretty comfortably. And Tree ends up as that kind of in the middle character that doesn't do that much. Has the color change, but doesn't really do that much. And also kind of doesn't have too much fan base to go off of like Marker does. So then ends up getting out. And at least Marker does a noble act, and you can feel pity because Lai, of course, betrayed. So, Tree ends up, unfortunately, kind of being part of a difficult team, and also, it's really difficult to get votes on that team because Black Hole is a black hole that sucks up all of the votes. Fairly, I have to be 100% honest, Black Hole deserves a lot of votes for, being the one who's trying to protect the universe. Yes, he just deserves the votes, objectively speaking. He is doing something extremely important, so he should get an extremely important prize for that. Yes, that is true. But, you can get mad, right? He's getting a lot of votes. Yes, he's doing the most important thing. Of course. Right? But, in general, yeah. So that's the channel elimination. Grassy ended up discovering that the goop does indeed make things come to life. They manages to get the Lie to come back to life until they die again, and eventually manage to get corrected. So Grassy ends up fixing Lie. It is a little bit unknown why the hell Grassy fixed the Lie, specifically. Grassy saw Lie. It can be debated that Lie is the easiest person to fix, as an entirely technological tool with not that much wiring, probably. You can debate it, it's interesting, because fixing Fanny is probably really easy. Right? Fixing, because Fanny was right there, I'm gonna be honest. Fanny had the 2 pieces of the body relatively intact, because all they did is they get ripped out. So the one thing that's missing is the cable, right? Grassy just needs to find one cable and connect it. It would not have been that hard to actually fix Fanny. So, there's a debate. And Fanny's body, I believe, is still out there, by the way, which of course is very important because of the post-credit scene that actually takes place in this episode, which we will get to. But yeah, in due time, we ended up finding out what the Fiery Jr. winner and loser have been up to. So Fiery Jr. is pretty much the character that has to carry this episode. Fiery Jr. coming back, as you can tell, is an extremely strategic decision, because you end up having Fiery Jr. being the character that has to kind of act as a fun magnet. You'll notice, because Fiery Jr. is constant jokes. Fiery Jr. does not have seriousness in Bro's body, right? He has this kind of sarcastic humor that's a bit different, right? Because you've got characters like Grassy or a Marker, right, that eventually ends up coming into this episode, that's a bit more just raw fun. However, despite that, there's they've got an air, the raw fun personality, but they're not they're they can emit different personality. Fiery Jr.'s personality is so unserious that they'll take every situation, because they hit every situation, serious or not, with sarcasm. So they end up kind of using that kind of sarcasm and goofy vibe to their advantage, and also just small. So they end up doing that, right? So Fiery Jr. ends up kind of being the character which a lot of this kind of resides from, and you end up having a combination of Fiery Jr. with for example Lai, which ends up kind of being Lai is not necessary, Lai does fun stuff. So you end up having that very important duo, because that's, at the end of the day, that's a fun duo, right? You have a character that does bold fun things like Lai will always take the action route to pretty much any situation. However, it has a relatively senior persona. And then there's a character like Fiery Jr. who maybe won't do dangerous things directly themselves. However, they will evoke every situation with a set of unseriousness, right? So you end up having serious person that does things for fun, and you end up having unserious person that doesn't do things for fun, and you end up having that combo kind of combine to make a duo right there, and that's a fun duo, right? At the end of the day, that ends up being a fun duo that ends up getting formed. And like in general, you end up having some moments. There's a lot of subtlety to moments, of course. Like for example, when loser and winner look at each other in the little cake, they smile at each other. There's a lot of these. Grassy trying to just fix things. And you can see how Grassy really picked up a lot of strength. But yeah, eventually 2 manages to get out. However, for a little while, people don't notice. We end up having Tape get noticed, because remember, Tape exists. Tape got stuck to the wall of Gelatin Steakhouse, which got rebranded to Cake Bakery at some point. And the Tape lived for a couple of minutes, for a couple of seconds until they eventually just kind of died, which is unfortunate. I kind of wish that Tape became relevant. That would have been really cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like, getting a new character right here would have actually kind of been cool, because, like, it's honestly a pretty good time, you know, and it'd be fun to, like, it's a thing kind of on accident, but nope, I'm pretty sure that Tape being alive was entirely an accident, and the writers were like, okay, we need to write this guy out quickly, because, like, there's no way, Tape was not supposed to be alive, come on. Tape is supposed to be with the other Exeters, but we just, with the other dead people, we just kind of forgot, so, yeah, Grass is pretty sad about it, but, either way, we end up doing that. So overall, yeah, like you can see, like overall, like what are the people that even get revived? Price Tag gets revived, right? Hold on, how do you revive Price Tag? Yeah, like Winner revives Price Tag, right? But like in general, like they revive like a Marker, Book, like they revive a bunch of goofy people. You know, like Golfball, who's so like they're so over serious that they end up being unserious, right? So like in general, it doesn't end up being like we end up having a series by just making the alive people kind of the more fun people, you end up having like a higher basis of just fun value. So this is an entertainment focused episode. It can be hard to grasp it, but if you really notice it, like majority of the interactions here are just intended to be fun, right? They're intended to look cool, be action, and be fun, right? The only moments that are unserious are serious is the beginning and the other places. So, like for example, this scene here with 6 is indeed a bit different, and even here 6 is popping in a bit of sarcasm. But yeah, 6 eventually says that we gotta go find 3 because this door doesn't open. Does 6 have powers? I still don't fucking know. 6, please, do you have powers or not? I need you to tell me if you have powers. What the hell, bro? These guys actually going crazy. Like, because 6 is apparently like, oh, you're trying to open this door. That's boring. What do you mean, open it? Or do you have? Because surely you got your share of the yo-yo. Like, probably. I mean, like, okay, 6 is the one who stayed on the playground. So that's the reason why I don't really know. Like 6 stayed on playground land. Yes, that's true. So that means that we have never seen them use an ability, pretty much. So they might have them. I believe they should, realistically, because, like, why would they not have taken a piece of the yo-yo? Like, they were right there. But, like, other than that, don't know. Gonna be for real. Don't know what's on with 6. Don't know why they don't get a piece of, why they don't just use their powers to do something. But either way, we end up having 2 end up coming in and to the side to host the challenge because they can't get the door open from the inside. So they end up coming in with a team swap. And we end up having Team Alive, which are people that are alive, and people that are dead, whichever that are dead. So that is simple. Team Alive gets win if they get to open 2's door. So they're supposed to work together. So that is the challenge, quote unquote. And then the other team will be up for elimination. We have some goofy. Like you see, like this scene of like you see these things of everybody's minds and the gags. And like you see, this is a gag. Like if this was this scene doesn't happen in TPOT 19. Like it just wouldn't. No, it's too unserious. So, but you see, this episode is trying to quiet itself down. It's trying to give us some fun before the storm. This episode, to me, feels like, well, it's not the calm before the storm, but it's the fun before the storm, right? It's at least trying to give us some entertainment, because episode 22 is gonna go crazy, and then after that, hopefully we're fixed. That's my idea. That's my idea. What happens in TPOT. But of course, we're gonna kind of need to see, I guess, in a bit. But yeah, Lai ends up escaping, because of course, we end up. Lai ends up just kind of running off because Lai wants to go solo. I don't know why you're trying to prove yourself to nobody, but yeah, either way, we end up having the intro play, which is obviously very fitting. The only change here is that tree is purple, because that is apparently a permanent design tree. I mean, we won't get to see tree for a while, so it's kind of impossible to really know. However, like in general, the teapot intro does somehow have the time to play. And then we end up having the title card immediately after, because there unfortunately was not a good spot to put the title card this time. I know you want to look slick for the friggin' theater releases, but just put it at the beginning or something. I don't know. Like, either way. We end up having, but you see, like, yeah, you see, even the guys in Badland, I kind of forgot about these, because this stuff doesn't technically develop that much in this episode. This stuff stalled out. Like, you see, even this stuff with, like, Fiery and Dora, like, you see how, in general, this scene is these fellas are nearly entirely entertainment. Like, you'll notice, like, every single interaction that happens in Badland is entertainment focused, right? With the 8-ball saying, oh, let's help, but, like, 8-ball, like, kind of ignoring the understanding, the actual thoughts that pop up inside making no sense, right, and being goofy, right? Like, you can see, this is entirely goofy. But again, this would not happen in TPOT 19. It just wouldn't, right? But like, this episode is a more fun episode, which means that this stuff gets to happen, you know. Which means that, like, in general, it's what I mean. I'm trying to give the example so I can properly explain. Like freaking everybody, Fiery and Dave is forcing 8-ball to push an instrument all by themselves because it didn't push any of anything. Like that's kind of fun, all right. But either way, we end up having some other shenanigans, but. Yeah, either way. Okay, so the challenge is to open. So a lot of people, of course, are probably presumably upset for 2, because 2 was it's not time for the competition. Okay, yeah, fair enough. However, first of all, I need to realize 2 doesn't exactly know what's going on. 2 just knows that 1 is here and 4 fell down, right? 2 doesn't have a feed to his show for some reason, right? But like in general, we just know that. That is the extent of what we know, alright? We know like that. So he's worried about it because, of course, the world is crumbling down because 1, but not too much that he can really do. So he's got to host a competition at some point, right? And he doesn't really know that everybody's dead and everything is fucked, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, doing a challenge is probably not a good idea, but like you can tell that it's kind of just out of desperation, right? Because like it's kind of just 2's way of doing things, right? If 2 wants something done, he just asks, like, he just does it a challenge, right? Like, that's kind of how it works. Same thing goes for, like, for example, you know, when they did the theme park, like 2 didn't know what to do with it, so it's just like, that's make it good, you know. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's 2's way of doing things. And also, it's like, what are you gonna do? You can just ask them, but they're like, oh, I'm busy, you know. Like, it's not that much. I don't think it's that deep, right? And then people are like, why doesn't 2 just jump off the window, bro? Like, yes, 2 doesn't have powers. What do you think is gonna happen? Like, I mean, I don't know. It will probably survive, but it hurts. You know? Like, I wouldn't want to jump off a 6-story building even if I did have superpowers. That probably hurts anyways, right? Like, come on. You gotta think in bro's shoes for a moment. So then the challenge ends up being to free 2. So then Grassy has an idea. It's a bit of a goofy idea. They're like, yo, what if we grab every single dead body, put them in a giant ball, and launch it at the door, and then that's what's gonna happen. Yeah. A bit of an overcomplicated way to do it. You could probably just grab, like, I don't know, a heavy one. Like, grab, like, part of the sink or something. It's probably, you know, that sink guy. And it'll probably be enough. Grassy gets really upset at not being able to grab price tag, even though I get this fucking price tag. That would add 0.1 kilograms to the heaviness of your total stack. Come on, Grassy. Let's not get that upset. Price tag ends up accidentally falling into the goop and getting revived. Kind of bullshit that, To revive Lai, you need to fully recompose the body and make it work again. But somehow, when Price Tag's body is fucking split in two, Price Tag still gets revived. I'm just saying, I feel like that's a little bullshit. However, either way, yes, Price Tag is indeed revived. And then comes back to indeed test out the things. In the meantime, Lai and Fiery Jr. end up going over to do an Insectophobe's nightmare, because indeed they find the Insectophobe's nightmare. Like, pretty much nobody that Price Tag manages to revive works, but either way, yeah, it ends up being a little bit of a chaos. And then right as Price Tag is about to revive Fanny, Price Tag dips off to go find two, because unfortunately, Price Tag does not have the capability of remembering two things at the same time, and does not do the very valid thing of thinking, yo, two knows the contestants in the show. I should probably go ask him who they are and then put them into the thing. Nope, can't do that. So they end up instead going to say hi to two instead. And they end up having that conversation. In the meantime, Book proceeds to get revived, so does Tennis Ball, and then Golf Ball, because those are the people, wait, alongside Marker. Those are the fellas that get revived, and we end up having this quadruple of people do it. For some reason, Golf Boy immediately is like, since there's nobody else here, we have to assume we're the only people left. What do you mean? How do you think you got revived? You just said you got revived remotely. Did you think you got revived remotely by the wind? God, boy, you're usually smart, but what the hell are you saying? But okay. Either way, these fellas are going. Book ends up trying to run back to try to get Price Tag back, not knowing that that's the one who revived them. Then Marker ends up chasing Book because they don't, they're still on their packed ideas. And in the meantime, Tennis Ball and God Ball go over to try to fix the wireless recovery center. Marker ends up stopping Book. Book ends up being pretty happy at Marker's acceptance towards Book. And then they end up getting into the giant David thing. I don't even know, the giant David scorpion. And they end up kind of just doing that for the rest of the episode. Just kind of being stuck there until they eventually reach Lai. Oh yeah, oh wow. Yeah, the fucking 3D shot, like POV, by the way, of Lai on the Force, like escaping the trees. That looks sick. That's fire. That shot is the best shot in the episode by a country mile. That shot looks cool as fuck. It reminds me of the fucking 2000s like DVD games, Like that, like kind of like first person CGI, that like first person. You know what it reminds me of? Like those like bad like VR, like arcade train simulators. Like no, not train, like roller coasters. Like those VR roller coasters. Like that's how those look like. Like that's how they have that vibe to it. It looks amazing. But they eventually end up getting through it, and then Lai, of course, does the incredibly smart decision of touching the pile of nests, and then proceeds to spawn in a fucking quadrigazillion of these giant bugs. Fiery Jr. gets launched at one of them, puts them on fire. By the way, I would just like to point out that it's the only one they can burn. Fiery Jr. ends up in the stomachs of like 10 bugs in this episode, but only one that they conveniently managed to burn down. I'm telling you, like, Fiery Jr. is not big enough to burn down one of these bugs. That was plot convenience. I'm going to be 100% for real with you. But then we have the scene. Okay. Yes, the scene. Price Tag ends up asking too, like, hey, you look kind of rough. Like, what happened? So then we end up having the question here with it, because we end up having. Hold on. Wait, what's going on? Wait, let me just quickly do a checkup here to like quickly clock it. Yeah, we end up having Price Tag be like, yo, Two, what's going on? Two's like, why do you care? And Price Tag's like, hey, look, I'm not like close with people, but like, we just gotta sometimes have a proper chat, and then we'll be closer with people, right? Either way, we managed to connect. Two wants to eat year-old food, which makes sense. Like, you see, the gag of Grassy getting greasy and saying, I'm greasy. Dude, some of this is theater bait. But, like, either way, we end up having Winner talk about the challenge, which immediately sets Godball into not fixing the recovery center. So like this recovery center is getting messed with, which may or may not be important. It's kind of difficult. Like the fact that they left the work like partially done is kind of difficult to really tell. But either way, Winner manages the most generational throw of the universe, man. What the fuck? He managed to, from the recovery center, yeet them perfectly into the window of basketball stick. Get this guy signed by the Los Angeles Lakers or whatever. This guy has to go to the NBA stat. What the fuck? This guy needs to play basketball. Nah, the power chart for Winner better go up. the power scaling, because that's an elite level of precision. But anyways, yeah, Marker and Book end up just kind of trying to bother the David fella until they fall off. That's kind of the idea. Eventually, we end up having to have the conversation with about what happened. Is that to try to find a home after the tons of powers. However, they couldn't really get to work into getting to many places. They even tried, apparently two even went to the skateboard land, and 9 eventually ended up residing and is currently dead. But unfortunately, they just felt alone in a lot of places until they even tried to visit 4 and X back in the town, in the Earth that they went to. However, 4 and X apparently forgot about him. Okay, this is an interesting debate. Did 4 and X forget about 2? That is an interesting question. My debate is, okay, my personal perception is no. Because X clearly says, "Are you 4? Are you sure?" And then 4 says, "Yes, X," which is like, there's something there, Like, it feels too random of an event it feels too random of a question to be after, because remember, there's no consideration. There's nearly nothing there. In the sense of contact, like talking, I feel like there would be more direct if they just generally didn't know the person. It's like a fake. It's absolute, it gave me huge vibes of a fake. Like, that's a fake interaction that Ford had. Ford definitely pretended. Okay, there's the whole thing where, oh yeah, BFDI made him stupid, right? Because that's kind of the thing that ends up happening, and that's why the host BFB being all wacky or whatever. That's kind of the BFB30 plotline. However, I don't believe that's that. Because that question from X is are you sure we want to leave him behind, right? That's like are you sure we don't want to talk to him? When it's they didn't forget. There's no way they forgot. I don't. It doesn't sound right. That question from X is not correct. That question from X implies knowledge, because otherwise it would just be a no-brainer. This guy is randomly bothering us. Yeah, just leave, right? But that question implies knowledge. So in my opinion, 4 and X were pretending. I'm not sure why, but they were pretending. That is my personal observation. Yeah, we eventually end up knowing. For some, why did 2 go talk to the announcer? What did you do? To be fair, you're going to some pretty dumb places from time to time. But either way, they end up, of course, being upset about the story, and then we end up having Book yet again get completely ran. But yeah, the amount of completely bullshit throws end up being absolutely crazy. You're telling me that the David ends up just happening to throw Marker onto Lai's hands, and then Book perfectly into the window to 2's. There's that plot conveniency is playing a massive factor in this episode. However, bro, either way, Marker ends up getting on fire to end up getting used as a torch, and then eventually they manage to kind of run away. Grassy successfully does manage to use to make a giant pile of everybody's bodies. However, accidentally does also get it to roll off of the garage. Which, by the way, if this shit hit the goop, it is over. That is creating a threat bigger than one. I'm telling you, bro, if the black goop hit this ball, it is over. The TPOT ended, at that moment. It would create, literally, it would create just the strongest being on Earth. there would not be anything in the universe that could survive what this ball would do if they gained the life goop. Like, they just wouldn't. So thankfully it manages to get stopped by a tree, because otherwise that would have been like impossible. Book tries to crush it with a shelf. It doesn't really work. Godboy ends up deciding to make the magnet to attract the key, which makes sense. And then we have the fellas. Oh yeah, the fellas over in the BFDI land. Because Match ends up running away at high speeds to try to find Pencil. But Match manages to beat up one of the cactus fellas, and then proceeds to get absolutely kind of like, gets splinters everywhere, but they end up being super mad because they absolutely have to save Pencil. But, you know, Match ends up here talking to Bubble, being like, why are you still helping her? Being like, that's not Pencil when she's at her best, that's Pencil when she's alone and everything, right? And then we have kind of the discussion here about it. Interesting comment that I heard from somebody that, like, Pencil pretty much doesn't have any self-stuff. Yeah, no, Pencil, it really has not had too much development when it comes to, like, her own self for a while. But, like, you know, it's an eliminated contestant. Like, it's a BFDI person, you know, like, it's kind of one of those things. It's probably not the time. Like, if we do another season, we absolutely need a match. But, like, for now, that's fair. Bubble and Ruby get convinced by Match's speech, and they end up going over there. Match ends up hugging them. By the way, again, plot convenience. There's no way Bubble doesn't pop. Oh my god. That Splinter misses Bubble by 1 centimeter. This is luck. There's a lot of luck going on here. Bubble was about to die. But you know, we end up getting lucky. And then eventually we end up having the key. Fiery Jr. gets so pissed that Lai had the key, bro. So pissed. He just starts beating her up. Lai is Rage Baiter 5 million. Lai does, like, exactly the types of things to piss off anybody. Because it's like, it's the exact... Lai is like 70% of the way to making a logical decision, and then just does a 180 to the dumbest possible things you could do at that moment. Like, it's genuinely unbelievable. But either way, they end up exploding again. And then we end up having the magnet that manages to attract Lai out alongside the token. Yes, remember the token that Lai got for, you know, for Marker. So for, like, the trees token that got given to Marker that then got given to Lai. So yeah, moment of silence for Lai. And then we end up having those fellas. Like, you see, dude, Fiery Jr. and Marco. Like, you see, this is, again, it's pure entertainment-focused interactions at the end of the day. The ball ends up managing to roll itself into the building. Where does it even end up? I don't even remember. It ends up, like, somewhere. But then it eventually gets pulled over. Oh, yeah, it gets sucked up by the magnet. Why? Why did it get sucked up by the item? I mean, I guess there's like a couple of things in it, but either way, Godboy ends up taking the key and the token because, you know, they ended up getting pretty upset at it. It was pretty much Tree's token. Lai did not really explain that Marker gave it to them, so, like, you know, Lai didn't really have too much to do. I don't know why. Like, Godboy comes out here being like, Lai, why should I believe you? And it's like, I'm sorry, Winner told you that everybody was on the same team. You believe Winner, but you won't believe Lai when they tell you the same thing that you've already been following as a belief anyways. Like, what do you, like, what? Why is Winner a more trustworthy source? I mean, like, I know that, okay, well, Lai is not a trustworthy source, but I don't know why Winner is any more of a trustworthy source. You know, if we're going to be skepticists, you might as well be a skepticist fairly, right? Either way, Godboy ends up getting there over to the door. One piece of the bug ends up bouncing around, and then Godboy comes in with an absolutely epic launch off a wall, getting the bounce, then locks in, gets the aim, and then just happens to get hit by the fella, right by the thing, right as they open the door, which means that a dead Godboy opens the door, aka Two finds it surprisingly enjoyable to kick around the Godboy, but either way, that means that Team Dead wins. Team Dead has somehow won because that means that you know, they managed to a dead Godboy open the door, so Team Dead wins, which makes sense. I mean, if Team Alive won, that wouldn't make that much sense because, of course, characters that weren't in the episode would be a Freelim, which is kind of bad. So yeah, Team Alive has to lose, realistically speaking. But like, at least it was a fun way for them to lose. Dude, Fiery Jr. is so troll. Fiery Jr. is just so unbelievably happy about everybody losing. To Fiery Jr., literally everybody's the ops, you know? To Fiery Jr., everybody is ops. Nobody likes what Fiery Jr. is doing. And then that means that Team Alive is up for elimination. Marker, Book, Tennis Ball, Lai, Winner, Price Tag, and Grassy. 2 of these are getting out. So who is getting out? There's an interesting debate here to be made. Marker didn't get that many votes last time. However, Marker's on that pact. It's really hard to know because the thing about that pact votes is that like it doesn't seem that many. However, at the same time, we very rarely had Death Pact interact with another team, right? And Death Pact is famously known as the top team in terms of like people liking Death Pact. So Marker being on this team kind of complicates it. First of all, Grassy should be getting an earth-shattering amount of votes. If Grassy doesn't break the record vote count, I'm writing because they should. That just objectively speaking, Grassy should have the world record-breaking amount of votes. However, they did more in this episode that could realistically anybody could ever do. A winner, I think, especially with how the loser thing's going, I think might be safe. Price Tag has the thing with 2. Price Tag, okay, so there's a couple of debates. I think Live for just method of being in this episode so much and having the Fiery Junior thing, especially because they have a bunch of fun interactions, I think survives. Book does the least, however, might be the most popular. Winner still has the loser thing. It's kind of sidelined a little bit. However, they're still relatively important. I would say Winner's safe in my opinion. I think Winner gets enough votes. So then it's kind of Price Tag, Book. So then it's like Price Tag, Book, Marker, Tennis Ball. I don't know. Like, see, this one's difficult. This one is honestly kind of difficult because like you can base it off a bit. Like, because there's kind of the debate. Does Marker, Book, and Tennis Ball just have enough votes to survive by default? Is this a true fact or is it a fake fact? I don't know. To be 100% honest, I could see Tennis Ball getting out, and I think this is my prediction. Out of the I know 2 people get out, but I'll talk about it in a moment. I think Tennis Ball my prediction because Tennis Ball got a good chunk of votes, 38k in a meh team, right? Like Tennis Ball got a lot of votes in a meh team. I don't think that is a very popular team, right? That team had Bottle that barely did anything, and it had Lai that was actively mean, right? So getting second in that team is like nothing, in my opinion. So then they do that, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, Tennis Ball's bad, but you understand, TPOT 19, Tennis Ball was the only fun thing happening. Was the only funny thing happening TPOT 19 was Tennis Ball, at least. I mean, people didn't find it funny because Force, they don't like Force, but like in general, it was one of the few comedic things happening. So I think in this episode, Tennis Ball already not doing that much, already kind of being competition focused, being too reliant on golf ball. It could get Tennis Ball out. The only thing that does get me to maybe think that Tennis Ball could stay in is BFDIE. Because, of course, Tennis Ball knew very well on BFDIE. But the thing about BFDIE is that BFDIE, that golf ball and Tennis Ball have that rift right now. Right? Like, there's that big crash, like that big tear apart of golf ball and Tennis Ball in BFDIE. Which means that in this episode, which you can clearly tell, there's quite a bit of bait going on in this episode, There's quite a bit of, like golf ball and Tennis Ball bait. You can see how, for example, Tennis Ball, whenever golf ball name's typed in, you can see how much they smile, right? So, there's a bit of bait of, how these two kind of come in as a duo. So, that could bump up Tennis Ball's numbers. That's true. And then there's Marker. Marker got not that many votes. Got, 29k. They have a fan base, and they did okay. I don't know. I don't know. I would say that they appear in this episode enough to not be last. However, to not be second last, I don't know if Marker can survive. Again, it's just hard to know. We will know after this episode. If Marker gets safety easily, I think that would officially cement. Because we're not 100% sure, numerically speaking, how popular Death Pact actually is. So we're gonna need to see here. I'm gonna predict Marker. Because I don't think it quite makes sense. Price, I think Book just survived for being Book. I think there's a bit. Book is enough popular that they might that they eke out. They're relatively fun. They got BFDIE buff for being such a beloved character there right now. And they also got an interesting arc, getting friends and stuff. And there's Price Tag. So Price Tag. has this whole thing. So in the post-credit scene of this episode, Price Tag goes over and remembers the thing that they were going to, reviving people. So then they press officially to revive Fanny, and an error appears. Fanny cannot get revived. Black Hole cannot get revived for obvious reasons. Black Hole is currently not present. They're in one's room. They're not dead. Pencil is not dead. They're in BFDI 1A, but they're not dead. Fanny is. So what the fuck? What the fuck? Huh? What? Yeah, yeah, I mean, there's no immediate idea. This happens after X comes by, because X eventually decides to look at the television for a moment, and sees that 4 got TP'd out by 1. They do not have enough focus on the TV to actually see where the hell 1 went. Like, if X had just watched for 10 more seconds of the episode, you would have seen 4 getting sent to the moon. Attention span. Please. Same thing goes, match going out here running, let's go 5 pencil. Bro, watch the episode. You'll see Pencil. How are you going to walk up to Pencil? You're going to walk up to the past? But they don't know, because they don't have the attention span to watch the episode. Like, it's important detail. I know that they're, like, grieving, but, like, they need to know, they need the intel. They can't just go search for somebody in the shadow realm. You know? Oh my god. But anyways, yeah. Price doesn't revive Fanny. So why is Fanny gone? I don't know. So there is, but basically, X was doing some tinkering in the recovery center. So that means, like, there's been a lot of movement done in this recovery center, right? Because, like, golf ball and tennis ball were tinkering with it, stopped partway through. X has been tinkering with it with their own powers, right? So there is the theoretical possibility that the recovery center could just be broken. Like, maybe this collective tinkering broke the recovery center. That is a possibility. I don't think that's what it is personally, but it is a possibility. There is also the other possibility, which is Fanny has signed one's deal, right? So Fanny having signed one's deal puts Fanny in an interesting position, right? Right now, where one is taking over the world, right? Because, like, why can't Fanny get revived? I don't know. Right, but like, because Fanny could get revived after signing one's deal. Fanny signed one's deal a while ago, like ages ago. Fanny has definitely died since that moment and been revived. However, like, right now, it's an interesting question, and it's one of the things that makes the most sense, right? That the deal might have some implication about that we can turn off your recovery at any moment, right? Possibly. I saw a potential theory that implies that one erased Fanny, maybe for the sake of Black Hole. Which is interesting. That is an interesting theory, for sure. Do I believe it to be correct? Maybe not. I don't think so, because the thing about a character erasure is that they don't remember, right? Like, you'll notice, like, when a character gets erased by 1, nobody remembers them. I mean, 2 remembers them, because they have the powers to remember it. But, like, the contestants themselves, the actual object, they don't remember. Like, Barpie just immediately disappears from the fellows in the exit. Nobody bats an eye. You know? Like, that memory isn't there, basically. Which means that for Price Tag to have remembered Fanny's existence, that has a requirement and a capability to, like, kind of just... like, that implies that Fanny's still around somehow, basically, right? And also, of course, an erasure means an elimination usually. So, like, basically, I don't believe that's what happened, because Fanny still remembered, because otherwise they weren't. I mean, there's the possibility that it's like, oh, Fanny, like, when Price Tag inputted it, they didn't happen, and then we had to chat with Black Hole, and then Fanny got erased, but then the text was still on there, so then Price Tag was like, I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna press enter, but I don't know, I don't fit. That's, like, too specific, surely, right? Surely that's too specific. So something around those lines? Maybe, I don't know, 100% sure. And then, like, we end up having something like that take place. But I don't really know. Again, Fanny should still probably be in that pile. I don't remember where the pile went. Where did that pile end up, bro? So it's like, where did the pile end up? I don't fucking remember. But like, either way, if the pile was still around, Fanny's body, in my opinion, is easily fixable. So Fanny could get revived that way by, just taking them to the group. And as we saw with Price Tag, you don't even probably need it to be connected. It'll probably just happen. So maybe we could just throw Fanny in there and it would get revived. And also, I'd just like to point out, doesn't X just have recovery as an ability? Isn't that just a thing? Like I thought that was a thing, right? Like X could do that. Like X was bad at recovery, but eventually throughout late BFB and early TPOT, X kind of learned recovery. So I think X theoretically should be capable of recovering somebody on themselves, so they can try to recover Fanny. We also don't necessarily have an immediate reminder about like what happens. But yeah, either way, basically, what was I getting to? Oh yeah, price tag. So the question with Price Tag is Price Tag had the heart-to-heart with 2, which is very nice because, of course, 2 enjoyed it because, you're listening. And it's kind of relatable. However, the thing about it is that the last screen is the post-credit scene. And it's just, will the general audience consider it Price Tag's fault? That's the question. Will the people who originally be happy with Price Tag be mad at Price Tag because Price Tag didn't revive Fanny? Because if Price Tag revive Fanny and Fanny turns out to be out, then like that could imply that it's Price Tag's fault because it was working then and it wasn't working here, right? Basically, is kind of the explanation. And I believe that not quite. Yes, I believe, like, if Price Tag gets out, I wouldn't be surprised because I would understand absolutely the opinion that it's Price Tag's fault that Fanny didn't get revived because you don't know what could have happened in that time span. Maybe there was that talk with Black Hole after, right? You don't know. Right, but the simple Price Tag lack of importance of not realizing how important it is to revive your fucking friends is kind of a thing, right? So I understand that elimination. I don't think it's happening because I'm going to bail on Marker. I'm going to bet on Marker. I'm going to bet on Deathpack not being as strong as everybody thinks. However, I'm just betting on the biases not being as strong as everybody thinks they are. So I'm going to bank on Tennis Ball Marker. However, I don't know. I don't know. We're gonna need to see. We're gonna need to find out in due time. two U2s. The 2 U2s. People don't like U2s, right? I don't remember why. They did a thing. Dude, look at Michael's doing. Why does Michael have exactly 2 of every plush? I don't know. Is it because 2? Is it because TPOT? But yeah. Just to close off, what I think is going to happen, TPOT 22 is absolutely, first of all, it's 22. Like, that has to be an important episode, right? Because 2-2. But this is XV1. X is doing something. There's absolutely no way X isn't going to just sit around here. X is doing something. X is going to the moon in some capacity. X is going to try to do one with some capacity. They're the only character with power. The only character with something. The only thing that I can imagine, okay, is we need to get the Algebraians together again. So how do we do this? I need... Dude, what would be the next event? Okay, my prediction is what would happen is X finds out that the 4 is on the moon, goes to the moon, okay, proceeds to fetch 4 out of there. Then they proceed to fetch 6 out of 4, okay, something along those lines. All right, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. So that way there is a 2 with not too much power. There is X, like X might have a chat with 2 or whatever, but like X, 4, and 6. Okay, they're there. Then there should theoretically maybe find 3. I still believe in the concept of like, I don't really know. I don't really know what they would do with 3, but 3 probably not there. Like, realistically speaking, probably can't do too much with 3. But at least those fellas plus 2 end up kind of making a unit. And then from there, they can try to sort themselves out. I don't know how, but they'll do something. But I think, that, in my opinion, is the episode. Shit is going down in that episode. Because I think that, even people are starting to understand, like, if we have another hour and a half of pure grimness, I think people are going to start getting tired, even the ones who are kind of into the storyline. So TPOT 22 has to be the one. I expect TPOT 22 to be an hour long, in my opinion. I think TPOT 22 is breaking the BFDI record because it's going to be super important. It's going to be movie. It's going to be movie style. It's going to be the biggest episode, and then TPOT's chilling after that. In my opinion, TPOT 22 is the climax. Seeing how this is going, it feels like it's a setup for TPOT 22 to be the climax, and then after that, it chills. I don't know if I'm correct. I might be super wrong, but that's my opinion. Okay. time to chill out a little bit, because it is time to go over to the very, 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 very young cousin of TPOT, which is none other than BFDIE, because BFDIE yesterday released an episode. BFDIE 85 is titled The Three-Legged Race. Here we go. Beep. Alright, it is a BFDIE. BFDIE 5. Certainly a tonal whiplash from a teapot. I must be 100% honest. And honestly, I mean, considering, like, you'll notice, like, the total runtime of this video, that, like, this is the last thing I took a look at today, because everything after this I've taken a look at earlier, so this is, like, the last thing of the day, so I'm super chilled out right now. You know what I find the most interesting part about this episode is that, it's a double elim. That's what I find interesting about this, because the other episodes weren't double elims, but I think I get it, because, like, basically after this episode we end up having the 2 eliminations, so we end up having 6 characters eliminated, and 6 characters are currently around. That means that we're going to have probably 4 more single elims, and then the final 2 compete in episode 10. So that means that BFDA will have 10 episodes. This marks the halfway point, so it's the halfway point. It's a bigger episode in terms of, like, importance, because 2 characters get eliminated, right? And that's what happens, as far as I'm aware of how this works. So that's interesting. Anyways, we have ourselves a classic BFDIE episode. Honestly, I think that, like, heading into, like, BFDIE 1 and BFDIE 2, you know, it was very easy to be skeptical about it, but, like, the thing about it is that, like, it really does just end up feeling, to me at least, it feels safe. You know, like, watching a BFD, like, honestly, out of, like, a lot of stuff in Object Catchup, right, watching a BFDIE episode, it just feels so safe. You know, it's so easy. You just do it. It just happens. You know, the episode just happens. It does fun stuff, right? That you don't really got to think about. The gags are like they're just jokes. It's just joking around, you know. Like, the fact that the controller 1 million bonus is intuitive and Jam immediately does actually just know how to use it. Like, it's kind of one of those things. Like, it's just funny. You know, it's easy funny. Like, it's not. There's not too much to it. It really is quite a thing, and it does it, like, yeah, for the third time, everybody doing unenthusiastic agreement. Like, it's just interesting stuff. Or, like, the entire episode, of course, Ruler trying to find out what Jammy's name is, because they forgot. They just call him henchman, right? They don't remember the names, and they're asking everybody, and then for for a different contrived reason, everybody can't say their name, right? And it's like, it's all funny, you know? Like, it's all easy. It's super fast flowing, right? And in a way, like, I think that it's partially probably what people miss, from something like TPOT. Like, you know, like, I think, like, stuff like, from people like who really like a TPOT, really like BFDIA, is that, like, we're kind of missing, like, this super free-flowing episode, but at a grander scale, right? Like, that's kind of the thing that's missing, I think, maybe, right? Because with BFDIA reaching its final stages, it's getting grand, right? And there's not that many characters anymore. And then with TPOT, of course, it's super serious right now, which means that, like, in general, this type of free-flowing isn't happening. And you might wonder, well, doesn't BFDIE itself count? Yeah, but BFDIE is super classic, right? Like, BFDIE is, like, a very classic style. It does classic jokes, right? But, like, this type of free-flowing, like, not too serious episode is something that we probably haven't seen in TPOT since, like, a while. You know, like, it's probably since, like, TPOT, I don't know, like, 16 or something. They haven't seen an episode kind of be like that. So, like, I mean, technically TPOT 18 is that, but people don't like TPOT 18. But, like, you know what I mean. But, like, I think that's what's missing, and whenever like, the BFDI earns another spot for something to run, like, after BFDI conclusion, I think that whatever the next season is should be within kind of that, like, a free-flowingness to its comedy, and, like, not being that deep like this, with just a little bit of a bigger scale, right? BFDI, but bigger scale. I think, like a BFDI vibe with a sort of early teapot like aesthetic to how it works, and then it just kind of does that. Like, that's kind of what it needs, really, and that's something that I think is like what that people feel is missing right now as the seasons are nearing into the end game. So yeah, but it's especially with teapot, like, BFDA does truly feel like it's trying, like it's filling that very important gap. It is a very important gap. It's trying to fill it. Does it do a great job of filling it? No, not really, to be 100% honest. However, because again it's small, and a lot of people are willing to watch something small, right? However, honestly, if you're a TPOT watcher and you're not liking TPOT, watch this. At least make your opinion on this, right? Make your opinion on BFDIE. Watch the BFDIE episodes at least, because it's just something, It's just something for just raw fun. There's not too much to it, and there doesn't need to be. And that acts as kind of that antithesis to what's currently going on in Teapot. And I think that it is actually quite a nice addition. So shout out to this. The challenge here is a 3-legged leg race where you have to do 3 legs of different categories, so just climbing stairs, finding a diamond in a cave, and then jumping over lava, and then no, that's it. There's the 3 legs in your teams that get sorted out randomly. So Needy ends up in Team Death alongside Sidewalky. Team Azura is comprised of Fern and David. Team Vermilion is comprised of Two-Pace and Ruler. And then Team Dandelion is comprised of Jammy and Sticker, who don't like each other because they're cheaters. So they end up all doing okay. Ruler tries to figure out Jammy's day by asking Two-Pace. However, it's like Two-Pace that I can't help out Jammy because he's my enemy. So Jammy ends up getting their leg broken immediately by Sidewalky. So Sidewalky just has to proceed to do the entire challenge on his own. Thankfully, he is strong enough that he can just kind of carry Needy without too much of without a gigantic fuss about it. Which is fortunate. So Needy just ends up sitting there and complaining. Not gonna lie, Needy is definitely still managing to live on. I'm kind of suspecting that Needy is not gonna win, right? Needy's not gonna win, right? Surely. So we end up having those fellas walk down. Wait, hold on. Yeah, Jammy and Sticker end up getting kicked down. Because they end up doing whatever cheating they do. Then they're going over to the other team. Yeah, because David, apparently when you push David turns on super mode and does whatever it needs to be done immediately. Because it doesn't work, so Fern just decides to use it. Anyways, we discovered that Sidewalky is colorblind, which is interesting. Probably the first confirmed colorblindness, but I think it's rather cool, especially because it's the grayest character. It is the grayest character that BFDI has ever seen, so the fact that they see in grayscale is kind of fun. I think that's interesting, and I think it has interesting implications with the rest of the cast. Do the characters see in the way that they see, in the way that they look, which is kind of interesting to think about. It's kind of did you know in Minecraft spectator mode, you can actually look at some of the POVs of objects. So you can see that creepers have all green vision. A Enderman has an inverted vision. There was another one. A spider has a 6 eyes vision, and there was one mob that had a reverse vision, but I don't remember which one it was. I'm sorry, but I think it's really interesting that thing that Minecraft has. But it's kind of interesting to imagine how different characters might view different things with their literal eyes. Do they literally see things differently? I don't know, but I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, the presumption is no, but it's interesting. We end up having the fellas do their thing. Yeah, Team Dandelion ends up being the one to be safe immediately because, again, Sidewalky submitted the thing for them. To be fair, Needy did not correct him. Just saying. Needy was there the entire time, was too busy saying ow. So, Two-Pace at the very last second tries to run over to Jammy, proceeds to make Ruler his enemy, and then end up debating that constantly. We then end up having Ruler die. Damn, Two-Pace not playing around. Look at the way that Ruler died. Dude, some of the deaths in this episode. To be fair, Two-Pace is getting back at just how brutally Bro died in the last episode, at the beginning. But yeah, I feel it's kind of interesting because BFDI originally didn't do that many brutal deaths, but it's kind of taking advantage of some of its higher quality animation now to sort of go a bit more crazy with unique ways that the characters die. So fair enough. In the lava lake, Sidewalky and Needy are safe. Then we end up having Two-Pace get launched into the lava by Jammy. However, they end up being safe because the recovery center is on the edge, so that team's safe. And then finally, at the very last second, we end up having a Fern, while Jamie was distracted, swap out the leg race with Sticker, fellow cheating partners, and successfully managed to get by. This would mean they would have needed to steal the blue strip from David, which I don't know how easy that is to do, but anyway, they managed to do it. Sticker's still around eating cake, and that means that Jamie and David are eliminated. Unfortunate for those fellas. It does officially remove David theory, because there was a theory that was running around, especially BFDI 1, that David was going to win BFDIE, because it's pretty proud, that they was going to win BFDIE, and the prize beyond just the island was going to be getting to be in the David for BFDI. Then it would have been full circle, right? Because that way David wins. Their prize is that they get to try to join BFDI, and that way then joining the BFDI debut vote, and then they join, right? That makes sense. That would have made sense for David to be there. I also do still kind of partially believe my theory that the David here is a different David than the David in there. Maybe not, because the David is a giant species. The David that we see is a reduced version, and there are none of the reduced version other than the David that we know. But this could be a different David. I don't know. It's unclear, to be honest. But yeah, those two are eliminated. Bye-bye. None of those two really felt like winners. So I think David and Jamie are perfectly fair eliminations. We're keeping sort of a couple of nicer characters in the series. I would have maybe kept Jamie, but like Jamie swapping off for I don't know. I think that people have been complaining about this elimination order, and I understand getting rid of this. For example, getting rid of Rose. I think Rose had more to give. Beach Ball probably had more to give. However, I think that the characters still around makes sense, because Needy's just how long would Needy be around? Fernie just kind of niceness skating under the radar. Ruler is kind of interesting to see right now that they don't have the henchman. Sidewalk is just pure strength. And then Sticker and Toothpaste are just kind of pure vibing it out with their own strats. So, I think that it's really solid. I'm still 100% remain in my same opinion. Sticker just gives me winner vibes. I don't know what it is about Sticker. It's the way that Sticker operates the game, just kind of being fun, but tactical, but, logical, but dumb, right? They just have this perfect blend that really just screams winner vibes. Sticker, to me, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I'm gonna say it again, because I am for some reason right now I'm really confident. Sticker, in my opinion, is winning BFDIE. I'm telling you. Sticker is winning BFDIE. I've said it right here. Mark me in the history books if this is correct, okay? Mark me in the history books. I've said this. I've always said this. Sticker is winner vibes. Okay? Alright. Anyways, beyond that, I will be also very interesting, by the way, to find out if we end up having David be the character that's going to, from BFDI 6 onwards, I'm curious if David is still going to be winning the polls, because I believe that David was still winning these polls, at least up to BFDI 4, so it's going to be very interesting to see if David wins, keeps winning the favorite contestant poll into, the next episodes, or if not, it's gonna be interesting to find out, or if people will finally start turning their allegiance to one of the new guys, trying to give a little bit of a different perspective to something for once. It'd be nice. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out. Yeah. All right. That is the episode of BFDIE, to be 100% honest. I don't think there's too much else to say about it. I think that BFDIE remains as a pretty useful thing. Toothpaste just eating the road at the end. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Honestly, this type of ending with the characters just doing something goofy every time, that is definitely one of that is really fun. That's just really fun. More object shows should consider doing this type of outro if the characters just having one sort of character defining thing that they're doing in the outro, one character defining thing that they just do, because you can really tell personality quite a bit actually by just the fellas in the tinier loser chamber that for the other two don't fit, so the door didn't even open. Okay, cool. I mean, we'll see what happens with that one. And yeah, all right. I'm tired, so we will see you in a little bit after. Oh my god, my brain is fried. I will now return you to the past before I watch any of it because I have to take a look at another series. Let's see what it is. You know from the title. Let's go. Alright, so we are back to the past, to before I've watched any of the Jack and Jellyfish stuff, because we're gonna do one request. Okay, it's a pretty big request, however, it's also ancient. This was a request done back when the dinosaurs were still around, also known as like 4 weeks ago. But yeah, your boy Tay recommended their own show to me, called Battle for Powers. There's a show with 2 seasons, however, the first one's really small, the second one's really big, so, we just gotta jump right into it. I don't really know. It started 5 years ago. It's kept itself going with the latest episode being about 11 months ago. So I'm not sure if it's over. I'm not exactly sure how exactly this is going. However, we just have to keep it moving at the end of the day because it's time for episode 1 of Battle for Power, which is titled "Swimming for the Limits." Let's go. Alright, that is episode 1. What happens in this episode? I don't really know. They kind of just push each other off of rafts. It's like a balance beam challenge, but on water. And like nearly everyone is up for Elam. However, I think that this episode is a perfect example of something that, a bunch of creators may think is cool. It's not that cool. Vocoders are not itchy. I'm gonna be absolutely real. Like, it's not that you can't make a vocoder sound good, but it's like, sometimes, because I understand the thought process, right? Because the thought process goes out, okay, my voice not that varied, so if I have every character just have my voice, it's bad. So I'm going to add a vocoder to one of my voices, I'm going to add some of these effects that are going to make my characters wacky. And that way they'll have a bunch of different voices. Yes, however, the thing about vocoders is they also make it really hard to hear if you have any type of, like, non-perfect microphone, Like, maybe a big show, like, a character like Puffball can work because it's a very professionally done character at the end of the day, right? There's a lot of work put into making that not to sound terrible. If you do that with a phone quality microphone like this it's just not going to sound good. Like, it's absolutely over. So yeah, this is a great example of what happens when you use vocoders badly. Episode 2, Scare to Win. Go. Ah, yes, it's the classic small object show made by a kid thing of, like, you start making an episode, right, and it's all going great, and then you realize that, oh, wait, if I do, like, 10 seconds per character, this episode is going to end up being like 4 minutes long instead of 1. So I need to suddenly randomly take the first few people that show up, give them extended coverage, and then the next people are just like that's like a montage. Because of it, like, I love it. Like, you can tell the exact moment that we realize this will take too long. We gotta speed this up. Right? The same thing goes with, like, the ending voting screen. It's like, oh, too many people are for Elon. I don't know how to read their names. Like, yeah, okay, fair enough. We can see them, but also, like, bro. Come on, bro. Do some effort. You can do it. Come on. Anyways, because it's Halloween. Is it Halloween? October 11th is when it released. It wasn't Halloween. But we got it. We got it done early, to be 100% honest. So fair enough. But yeah, the character eliminated was a Battery for being, for getting the 1 vote. And then, yeah, again, the challenge is to scare Sonic and whoever and Tails. I think a bunch of people are safe, a bunch of people are not safe. It seems like the people that are safe are the ones who showed Ali A, which, better remember, Ali A, holy. And then also water, because it's Sonic and Tails. That's fair. That's what I get you. I mean, is Sonic scared of water? I feel like Sonic isn't scared of water, Like, Sonic can swim, but, like, they'll go into water, That's why there's water levels. If Sonic was scared of water, bro wouldn't go into the water levels, and then nothing would happen, right? And then, like, it'd be over. Dr. Eggman just has to hide the Chaos Emerald in a lake, and then nobody's ever finding it, So, like, Sonic will go into water. I don't think it's that scary. Also, it's like glass water. Like, Sonic can't swim, but got glass water. I don't know. I feel like we're over-exaggerating Sonic's fear a little bit. Who's getting out? I don't fucking know this letter F. Alright, episode 3, The Scare. Yo, so, like, who the fuck got eliminated? Was it the controller? The controller got eliminated, because they said, like, oh, you will be here for this challenge, but you won't be here for the next challenge. So, I think they're getting eliminated. Anyways, it's actually Halloween. in terms of like in the show, I think, even though this is still released on October 12th. You chill, you can wait 20 days. But anyways, next up, everybody's in costume, I guess, for Halloween. I mean, like, you can clearly tell that we did not have enough costume ideas, so we just dressed up half the characters as a ghost. And then we we're like, oh yes, I'm Sonic the ODAC, turns eyes red. That's it. Like, yes, exactly. And then Tails though just added an antenna. Yes, you know, this is the best costuming of all time. There isn't really a challenge here. Like, Sonic just goes like, yo, go trick and treat. That's your challenge, and then that's it. Like, there's no rule set for this challenge. They go trick or treat, they get candy, one of them knocks on the doors of like a witch's house or whatever the fuck, and then at the end they're getting sucked into it and dying in acid or whatever, because, you know, that's what happens on Halloween. And then they end up being like, what is this is like a continuation of episode 2. So let's know the new from the nation, and right now I'm just gonna recover Tennis Switch and Fortnite and Joy-Con because they both died. Yeah, I don't think YouTube has a great understanding of what is being said in this episode. I'm gonna be 100% on it. What comment who's your favorite character in the series? Is okay, that's, man, this is something. This is something. This is one of the episodes of all time. I'm gonna be 100% for real. Well, anyways, it's time to jump right into episode 1 of the second season, because, okay, so there's like a short in the middle called Bong. However, I'm going to watch that, but I'm not going to cover it, and then we'll come back after I watch Battle for Powers 1, so that we can discuss that and start off the real deal, alright? You got me? Alright, sounds good. Let's go. Alright, that is Battle for Powers 1, and now I'm gonna be absolutely for real. So, like, this episode's 6 minutes, and the rest of the show, you know, is gonna have relatively lengthy episodes. I mean, I don't know, I don't really know the length, but, like, you know, it seems to average about, like, 10 minutes on average. Like, the first ones are shorter, and the other ones are longer, so it roughly averages around then. However, like, you see, for something like this, it's like, OMG, like, I'm actually for real. If 2 minutes of content happen in this episode within these 6 minutes, I'll be heavily surprised. This is a great example of the other main thing that is like, okay, so you don't technically have to script your show, right? Like, that's not a requirement. It's not a rule, right, in Object Show history that you must do a script. Right, you must be planned when you're making a show. Like, yeah, nobody in the world has told you to do that. However, at the same time, there's a very good reason why things have scripts and plans and stuff. Because, like, you see, what ends up happening if you try to YOLO it is that you just end up doing this, right? Which is just like which is just like a run-on sentence, and then you forgot this, and then you forgot that, and then you need to say this, right? So, like, for example, team explanation, you have to, like, constantly do this run-on sentence, because it's like, how the hell, like, the controller says, oh, okay, guys, we should be the devices, because we are, like, all devices, because, like, I'm a controller, you're a computer, and then that's a Joy-Con, so we're all devices, so we should be called the devices, so, yeah. You see how long it took for me to say all that, when we could just say, the controller said, we should be the devices because we're all devices, and then somebody else responds, yeah, and then boom, the name appears. You see what I mean? Like, it's just a matter of pacing. Like, the matter of pacing is, like, it's very important. Anyway, speaking of which, Devices is one of the teams featuring the 2 Xbox controllers, a computer which looks more like a you know one of those like Ethernet ports, and then the Joy-Cons, a blue and a red one. In the meantime, there's the Team 8ers named after 8-ball because there's a bunch of balls. Even though, okay, so because apparently the 8-ballers is because one of them is called 8-ball and the other ones are ballers, so whatever. So we have 8-ball, we have a whiteboard that looks like a Pop-Tart, we have a bouncy ball, you have a bowling ball, then we have a Minecraft dirt block, which is obviously a Minecraft grass block, however, we're calling them a dirt block. Then we end up having Team Tech, I think is what they're called, because they're technology. So this has Xbox logo, it has a Roblox logo, but it's not rotated, so it just looks like a square. We have the Fortnite logos, which is the letter F. We have an Xbox One, and then we have just like a what is this? This is the black rectangle. I'm presuming it's like a TV or something. So they're doing that. They're Team Tech. And then finally, there's Team Xboxers, which was said wrong, by the way. They call it, like, they said the name of the team wrong during the video. They said it was Team Gamers. However, there need to be big, bold text on the screen being like, I said it wrong. Well, re-record it. Oh my god. It's okay. You don't need to do your show in one take. You can do another one. You know? It's already edited anyways because it's flipper clip, so like you might as well, right, you know. But okay, fine. Anyways, this is the Xbox game case, the remote. They also have this is the ball. This is a red ball. And then we have 3D pebbles, a box of 3D pebbles, and then we end up having a Switch itself. I wonder how the Joy-Cons feel about this one. But either way, yeah, they end up hosting the competition, which is still hosted by Sonic. You see, this guy spends like literally 20 seconds just like to count it, like, yo, let's see, or let's see if there's anybody else new, and then just to say no, there's nobody else new. That was the point, like, go faster. But like, okay then. Then having the challenge. By the way, the challenge is to swim. To swim over to another island. Fair enough. Pretty easy challenge. Pretty fair. In terms of, by the way, what do I actually think about the animation quality? I mean, it's very clearly flip a clip show. That's super hand drawn. However, like, you know, it's fine. Like, I think there's a bit of charm to it. The music is definitively too loud. However, you know, what, like, at this point, it's kind of hard to expect anything else. Look, my personal view of it is that, look, if YouTube auto subtitles cannot understand what is being said and just type down music, then your music is too loud. Okay, that's like the way that I'd describe it. And then we end up having the fellow swimming. So Xbox, which, by the way, you can't invert it, by the way, because that just makes it look like sods. But like, just saying. Anyways, so they're like, all right, swimming is not useful, so I'm gonna need to find a boat in the water. This guy is trying to build a boat in the middle of the water. No, you're supposed to do that on the ground. You can't just build a boat in the water. Have you tried? That's like water polo level bullshit. Okay, the funny thing is he finds an abandoned. He actually just finds a boat. I don't know if he builds a boat, but he certainly finds a boat. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. But anyway, yeah, he finds a boat. Joy-Con just manages to swim by. Yeah, I'm not going to question how the hell the technology people are actually swimming. Like, how is the Joy-Con not breaking? Just saying. And then, yeah, there's just the other things. So what's the other one to make it? It's like the Xbox logo because the team baller sent a bowling ball up for Elim, which is up for swimming, which is obviously a bad idea because they're extremely heavy. So yeah, everybody's up for Elim. You're supposed to comment the first letter of their names, but for some reason 6, W, M, 6, and 6 are all of it. What? Oh my god. Whatever. Episode 2 is titled Run Until It's Done. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 2 of Battle for Powers. You know what I'm interested? Is this show gonna get better? Because, like, when? No, just out of curiosity, because, like, the thumbnails showcased higher quality assets, like significant higher quality assets, which kind of makes me interested. Like, does this show actually have a significant amount of improvement? Because, like, it should be over theoretically. So I don't exactly know. I think there's like a hiatus. So I think it's probably around like this 11 to 12 range where stuff changes. Because, like, currently, you know, it's something. Anyways, yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I mean. Like, basically, when you're trying to kind of improv a story, right? You think, all right, let's go for it, right? Because I got it in my head. I know what I want to happen. And, like, the thing is, that's true. You absolutely do know what you want, right? But the thing about it is that despite knowing what you want, the thing about it is that it's really hard to do improv. Like, everybody thinks they're better at improv than they really are, right? So that means that, like, you end up having someone like this where it just ends up as a gigantic stall, right? It just ends up being really slow. You know, like, these 10 minutes just feel really, really slow, which is unfortunate. But, like, at the end of the day, right, like, do I judge it too harshly? No, I don't. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't judge this too harshly because like it's one of those things where it's like I kind of relate to this, right? Because like, okay, here, do you want some backs? Do you want some me lore drop? Okay, so like here's the deal. Okay, well, I never animated because I can't draw. However, you know what I used to do back when I was like super young? I used to make flipping plush videos. Okay, I believe that they might still exist. I don't know. I think they exist, but I unlisted them. But like, they're like around, okay? Which, means that like I kind of know how this experience is because at the end of the day, how most kids try to film a plush video is very similar to how something like this ends up being made, right? It's just kind of you need to pick out the camera and you need to have some type of story in your mind, and then you need to click record on your phone, and then it just needs to happen, right? Like there's not too much else to it. Like we've not got editing software that we can deal with. We've only got one hand to move around all the plushies, and we just gotta get it, right? Which means that at the end of the day, it is quite a complicated situation, you know. And that's why like so many plush videos are considered absolutely terrible, right? Like there's of course there's the top end of the top end, right? That's like professional, but majority of people making plush videos, you know, they're kids that while yes they fail, they also put themselves in the worst possible situation, right? Like at the end of it, like for example, making a plush video is super hard because again you have to one hand everything while also improvising on the spot, not shaking around your phone, getting the right camera angles, speaking properly and clearly, not getting stumbled up on your words, like you see. And again, a kid has to do all that, so that's why plush videos end up failing. And you can see a lot of the elements kind of here, where it's like you just kind of have to roughly voice act, right? Like you just put it in, then you just put it on the spot and you just have to do it. Like it's kind of ends up complicated because it's just not that easy to do, you know? And then you might be wondering, well, like, hold on, internal the second. Aren't you currently improvising? Yes, I am technically currently improvising, right? I mean, I haven't planned out I haven't scripted out what I'm saying here. However, like, at the end of the day, I have become way better at this. Throughout, doing certain events. I've been a commentator for events before. So, like, in general, I've definitely improved at the act of saying stuff just quickly in my head. And I'm still not great at it. You'll see me repeat constantly. You'll see me forget constantly. And, like, at the end of the day, yes, it would probably be better if it was scripted, right? However, in that case, I would be able to only cover up like a tenth of the amount of shows that I've covered here. So that's why the system ends up going like this, right? So, like, that's roughly how this goes. But anyways, let's find out what actually happens in this episode. Because, again, you don't remember how I said there's 2 minutes of content, the 6-minute episode? This 10 minutes, roughly about, like, 3 minutes worth of content. So, we end up heading over onto the moon and having an ear rape warning. Because we end up having a freaking some Allier song in Fortnite. Remember that? Dude, man, those were the times. Like, wait, when was this released? This isn't that old of a video. This is November 2020. That meme was like already dead. I'm gonna be absolutely for real. But like, yeah, I remember when Fortnite added those like music panels things, and then people just made songs during them. Dude, that was the bomb. People made like Despacito. Those were the days, bro. And they worked pretty well because it was like the Minecraft no blocks for Fortnite. I went, dude, does it still exist? What the fuck happened to this? I don't know what the hell's going on with Fortnite. Anyways, we have the intro, which is pretty cool. I will be 100% honest. I don't know why we let the entirety of the BFB song play, but then cut off the character showing up part way through, so that way it ends up being on the final screen for an awkwardly long amount of time. But also the final screen was recorded is a screen cap taken from FlipperClip. So that means that there's the FlipperClip logo on top of the FlipperClip logo, which is amazing. I hope that in the next episode is going to be the FlipperClip logo on top of the FlipperClip logo on top of the FlipperClip logo. And then we end up having a challenge. Well, first of all, people are having fun on the moon, and then we end up discovering the challenge. We can get an invisibility cloak for $1, which is pretty good. And the eliminated contestant is none other than Whiteboard, who ends up getting eliminated after not doing much of anything. That makes sense. To be fair, like, that you know how that first challenge was like only one person on the team could go and all the other ones didn't get to show off their abilities? Yeah. The challenge, you're going to be going down into a cave. Again, this challenge explanation takes, I'm not even kidding, 40 seconds, and it's like all not understandable. But, yes, basically, I believe what the actual challenge idea is that you are down in this cave system with spooky monsters and shit who will try to eat you. Okay, so the challenge is you have to survive 1 hour in this cave without getting eaten. I believe that is the concept. Then this turns out to be extremely easy because there aren't that many monsters, I guess. Which means that like the monsters just kind of magnetize towards certain people, and then everybody else just kind of gets to be like, yeah, I mean, there's no monster here, so we should just sit here for 1 hour. Which, I mean, okay, fair enough. I mean, you should probably hide, but like I guess, yeah, if there's no monster there, you don't need to do anything. But like that's fair. We end up having this fella. By the way, this red ball is a light bulb. How is this a light bulb, bro? You're called a light bulb? Really? Yo, what light bulb is red? Yo, what light bulbs you got over there? What is this light bulb game? What light bulb is red? Like, I don't know. I ain't seen one personally, but I'm kind of getting confused out here. But alright then. Then we end up having Fruity Pebbles. Fruity Pebbles is the go, by the way. Fruity Pebbles just like solos everybody. He goes like just absolutely solos them. Again, it's funny because like half the cast doesn't encounter a single monster, and Fruity Pebbles needs to take down like 6 the other time there. Which, I mean, to be fair, that would probably be the luck of how it works, but like it's kind of interesting. One other thing that I'm absolutely going to criticize about this though is, for example, putting a black hair on a black background makes them just blend in. You know, the TV fella, like, it's kind of difficult to see them in the black background. They just look like they are the background, to be honest. I don't think that they're like it's exactly the same color. Yeah, like one of it's like, I think it's like a gray, but it's really hard to tell. So like, yeah, that's kind of it's kind of an unfortunate part of it. Oh yeah, the intro plays twice. Why does the intro play twice? We definitely forgot about it. You're just like, oh, all right, I gotta play the intro one more time. So all right, intro 2 times. Well, that's great. We end up having Mario the camera meme. Remember that? And then we end up having some fellas, Xbox logo and Roblox ended up just kind of getting bored and being like, yo, let's go find our team because I don't want to sit here anymore, which is fair. They end up going on a long tangent to find TV, and they find TV. After they find TV, they don't really do that much, but they at least found TV. Then Minecraft their block, and the Joy-Cons end up making a hammer together as weapons, and right as they made the weapons, some enemies come in, and they all take them down, except for Blue Joy-Con, red Joy-Con, which accidentally yeets themselves straight into the mouth of one of them, and ends up becoming the first person to die. However, the hour is already about to be up, which means that there's not that much time, and bang, that team... Team Tech or whatever they're called is up for elimination. No, this is Team Devices. Team Devices is up for elimination, which is, I mean, relatively unfortunate for them. However, it goes how it goes. Dude, again... Some of the things that happen in this is so funny. Like, how are we looking at this voting screen and thinking, yup, sounds good. 2 of the letters are all cast, the other 3 are lowercase. The characters are squished to like 10 millimeters when they literally don't need to be under any circumstance at all. Sounds good. This is worth shipping out to YouTube. That's just, it's so funny. Alright, let's just jump right into the next episode. Episode 3, Fish Frenzy. Go. Alright, so a little while back, I took a look at episode 3 of Battle for Powers. Okay, so, interesting. We actually have a good set of redesigns going on, but okay. Alright, first thing I just want to point out, Bro. So, like, you know how you can add captions to your video? Well, somebody has added captions to this video. However, the thing about it is that these captions end up removing the auto subtitles that are usually on this video, right? So you know what ends up happening? there is one single line in these captions, and it says, and I quote at the bottom, "Cup staking cool," and that's it. that's it. That is the whole captions. There is nothing, no other caption in the entire video, and it's not like a character says that. It's just like, the caption wanted to drop by its opinion, like, oh yes, cup staking cool, and it's like, what? It's not even spelled right. Stacking. Oh my god, that is so dumb. But anyways, yes, you end up having a couple of redesigns. After this renewed intro, which I'm not gonna lie, is actually pretty cool. I'm actually quite a fan of this intro. It's like a little long, to be honest. I mean, it feels a little long. How long is it actually? It's not actually that long. Hold on. It's roughly 25 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, it ends up having the characters appear, but overall I think it's pretty enjoyable. It's kind of stylized, a little bit different. It shows off some characters which we haven't seen before, like this potion. Who the hell is this potion? So it might be a little bit of a spoiler, but like either way, yeah. And then we end up having some redesigns. Okay, let's chat about these redesigns. So we have a computer gets a redesign, much better. I mean, now it's a laptop, and now they don't have a keyboard. But yeah, that makes a lot more sense as a computer than before. So that's big progress. I don't know why the limbs are white. Then who else gets a redesign? We end up having. Oh yeah, random debut vote. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a random debut vote for absolutely no reason. And the two fellas that join are Battery, for some reason, for a debut, and the purple Xbox game case. I don't know what, purple? What game is purple? I have never seen a purple Xbox game case. I don't know about you, but alright, then you join. And then we end up having the challenges. Okay, yeah, the Joy-Cons and the Switch get their own redesign. The main thing that changes with the Joy-Con redesign is just, they're so much bigger. Like the Joy-Cons, looked really small in the past few episodes. Like they were kind of mini. It was like Joy-Con Junior, right? And like the Switch Joy-Cons were bigger than the Joy-Con characters themselves. However, now the Joy-Con characters have become bigger than the Switch itself, which is like what? For design, yeah, it's much better. These ones for the Joy-Cons. I mean, it's missing some things like the home button on the right Joy-Con and like whatever else. But in general, yeah, you end up having the challenge introduced, which is to catch the most fish. You have to specifically catch 40 fish. I don't know why you have to catch 40 fish, but you have to catch minimum 40 fish for you to be safe. It can be any fish as long as it's just a fish. So, alright, seems good. And then we end up having some fellas. Yeah, TV so ends up the same. Roblox logo has mildly changed. The centerpiece has become black. Not sure why, but it has. It should realistically be probably white, but like, you know. And then we have the Xbox itself. The Xbox console has changed design. It is now based off of the design, I'm presuming, of an Xbox Series X, because kind of this box-like status of an Xbox Series S is a rectangle, right? Like it goes more up. It's not a square. It's not a box, right? However, like, I'm guessing that is where this new design is based off of. Yet again, massively improved. I think they're on the thumbnail. Yeah, they're on the thumbnail. It is massively improved over the previous one. There's a couple of like mini redesigns, I think, for some other characters. Like the Xbox logo looks mildly different, right? But like other than that, it's kind of the same. These controllers look a little bit different. I don't know what's going on with the. What is the layout of this controller? Nah, hold on. What is the layout of this controller? It's like it's got the two sticks all the way down at the handles, which sounds like the most uncomfortable thing in the world. And then there's a set of buttons on the right, and that's it. There's no set of buttons on the left. There's no D-pad. It's just buttons and then joysticks that are way too low down. This controller sounds unusable. This controller sucks. But you know, it goes how it goes. I don't know if these were here before, but we have eyelashes for the white one. So I guess girls have just been invented. So yeah, the Joy-Con ends up putting themselves in a Ziploc paper bag and going down to the ocean where they get eaten by like a fish. But remember, now the Switch just dunked right in. So if you're a Joy-Con, can't go in. If you're an entire console, you can go in. See what I mean? It's a little bit inconsistent over whether these people can go in the water or not. But either way, yeah, they end up fetching a water bottle character for some reason. Yep, they do end up doing that. Then we end up having grass block, dirt block. Went up fetching in like 1,000,000,000 fish, and they're the first team safe. Sonic.exe just drops by. I don't know why this guy's here. The Export logo has like a mod. I don't know. The Export logo, like the size of the whooshes of the X itself is like completely arbitrary. Like it changes that on a second. Like it really doesn't stick around for too long. Then we end up having this team with Roblox logo. They end up going to a portal like the end or something. And they don't really do much of anything there. To be 100% honest, they really don't do much of anything. And then, considering they're in the end and they can't fetch fish from the end, they end up, being up for elimination, which, that, I must admit, makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, so, what else ends up happening? The Joy-Cons end up doing the thing. The Xbox finds another fella. They find Sonic.exe in the end. Why is Sonic.exe here? Then Sonic finds a fish that's murdering everybody because they've escaped from the fellas that were in rafts to try to fish. And then Sonic, the host, is like, I gotta save the world, so they turn into Super Sonic, undefeatable, and then they end up going over, and then it turns out that the fellas, in the end, Team Tech, right, end up being up for Elam because they only got 20 fish. The devices got 50. The 8-8ers, which, by the way, yes, is a renamed team. I don't know why we felt like renaming the team from the 8ers to the 8-8ers, but like I don't. Especially because there's not 8 of them. This is not the 8-8ers. It's like the 4-8ers. But like, okay. And then we end up having the Xboxers. Yes, we got 90. These are, I believe, these are new team logos. Like these look different. But again, the thing about it is that like, it applies with a lot of like the more hand-drawn shows. Is that like it doesn't settle itself into any asset. It just has to redraw it every time. Which sounds like that would take 1,000,000 years, wouldn't it? But yeah, I don't know why. By the way, 8-8ers and Xbox, you gotta chill. Like you need to grab 40 fish. You got 100. Like you do not need this much fish. At that point, you just wanted to eat fish. Like what in the world? Like, okay, the fellas are for Elim. Who's getting out? I do like a detail that you don't necessarily have to fit within the voting screen box. Like I like on the TV, it's widescreen, so yeah, they end up going a little bit outwards. The Fortnite logo is inverted, so I'm gonna say that they get eliminated. ABCED, yes, exactly. That is how the alphabet works. We're getting there. 100% correct every time. Oh my god. We have a post-credit scene. Oh yeah, for a post-credit scene after freaking 50 seconds of outro, we end up having the post-credit scene of the fellas being like, hey, I'm Sonic.exe. And then we end up having the final moment where somebody drops in from the dark and randomly appears. Whiteboard comes back. Don don. The hit character that was coming back after such a long and really long gap of one episode after their elimination. We've missed them so much. They were gone for so long. It's really time for them to make a villainous return. As you can tell, I'm doing a lot of the sarcasm here about this episode. Because it's kind of funny. But anyways, what I think of this episode was alright. To be honest, I mean, I am certainly feeling a little bit of a lack of captioning work for sure. The music is still definitively too loud. I mean, I hope that gets sorted out. Because again, it's one of those really important things that it's just like a lot of these shows they just don't think about, Because at the end of the day, the most important part of your show is not even how it looks, it's how it sounds, because characters talk more than they do, right, on average, which means that, like, you gotta be able to understand it, and music, it's kind of difficult, so it's like, it's difficult also because, right, one of the things about it is that, when you are trying to hear to see if see if you can understand it, you know what you said, so it's easier to understand if you know the words. Like, have you ever tried like reading the lyrics to a song? You'll suddenly understand the words way better if you just try to grasp the lyrics without having the lyrics in front of you, right? Like, you just try to understand it. It's way harder. But yeah, episode 4, Battle for Powers, is titled Waterfest. Go. Alright, that is episode 4, so a lot of things have changed again. From the general pacing to the, the general pacing has grown itself way faster. It feels like it's a bit more properly scripted now. There's less, like, ums and ahs, and, like, in general, you can really tell, about how, like, there aren't these ums that I'm saying all the time, right? So then we also have the audio, which is quite a bit improved. I mean, it still sometimes sounds like the music has been sorted out. It's just that sometimes the voice is still quiet. Like, the music is not loud if the voice is quiet, right? That's kind of the thing that's happened sometimes. However, in general, it's very sorted. And more characters have had redesigns. So the bowling ball has turned into a blue bowling ball, and characters call them a volleyball sometimes for some reason. But yes, a blue bowling ball, that does differentiate a little bit from the 8 ball. And they're also having a renewed intro, which it's a pretty cool intro. But my question still remains the same. Who the hell is Potion? Who is Potion? What is this character? Like, did we just put in a character in the intro to troll? Like, is this who the fuck is Potion? What? Okay then, Potion. And I like how this character is getting redesigned as well in these intros. Like, I'm sorry, who the fuck are you? But then we end up having the eliminated contestant be Fortnite. Who ends up dipping away, and is already, by the way, up for a rejoin. A grass block, dirt block, has had a redesign. It makes them lineless rather than just their direct Minecraft counterpart. But hey, it actually looks pretty cool. I don't know. Well, to be 100% honest, I doubt that it's actually drawn. It's probably fetched from somewhere. But then we end up having the challenge, which is a balance bridge. It's a balance beam, but it's a balance bridge. Don't fall in the water. No, here's the thing about balance beam challenges. They're obviously super generic. However, they're also fine, right? They're that type of challenge that's kind of really easy to do. All you need to do is animate one character pushing off another, right? Like, there's not that much action to it. You can do it with relatively small amount of camera angles. So, with small object shows, it's relatively simple challenges. So yeah, do we have anybody else who got redesigns? I don't immediately remember. I don't think so. Yeah, no. Then we end up having. Oh yeah, by the way, remember how the whiteboard came back in episode 3? No, they're still in the void. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what that was for. That was just for trolling. Okay, this show might be trolling in this, guys. I'm not gonna lie. This show's randomly TPOT quality. I'm telling you. So. Yeah, A-Ball ends up throwing the bouncy ball at the group of gamers, and then they end up falling off. Because do we even have teams? I don't even think we have teams in this episode. But then we end up having, randomly a random other guy comes in, like the brother of the game of the Xbox game, PS4 game, drops in and randomly is like, yo, I'm gonna push you off. Like, I didn't know there were visitors allowed. I didn't know that was allowed. I didn't know you could have called a friend on in this. But either way, they feel dramatic, like getting rid of remote, which has had a redesign as well. They're a little bit more they're thinner, but their buttons are a bit more clearly defined. Well, we'll say you do not need 2 volume sliders. 2 double volume sliders. Yes, exactly. But then we end up having the last 2 people safe. Wait, who's that? Who was safe? Oh yeah, grass block ended up being the safe because Iceball ended up falling by somebody else at the last second. So good job, grass dirt block. You end up getting to pick 5 people for elimination. So they pick Cereal, volleyball, Shasha. Wait, what? Hold on. Shasha. Who the fuck is Shasha? And then like 3 people show up and the bro says Shasha. Okay, I don't know what, whatever. Yes, Cereal is what I've been calling the Fruity Pebbles. And then at the same time, we also have a rejoin, episode 4. I know, right? Where we end up having all the contestants say what they should rejoin. Again, like, I understand making the whiteboard go insane because, I don't want to be in darkness forever. But it's like, you've been in darkness for 2 episodes. Like, it doesn't work yet. You need to wait a bit. You're doing this trope too fast. You know, you need to relax. Okay. All right. Episode 5. Mind if I drop a by? Alright, that is the 5th episode of Battle for Powers, so we have another intro. How many intros do we need? I understand that making intros is cool, but you gotta sort one of them out. This one doesn't have the host appear, so therefore that means that the mysterious character Poison that exists, or maybe doesn't, is indeed here. However, we have a new character that randomly drops by for no reason. Sticker. Who the fuck is Sticker? I don't know, but they're just competing now, and everybody's okay with that. So we've just placeboed that character into existence, which is nice. So we've just kind of sneaked it in. We've kind of like, hey man, we were like, ooh, if I try to put in a random character into the cast for absolutely no reason, nobody is gonna notice. Which, I mean, okay, fair enough, but like, I did. So that's not good. Also, wait a minute, why are there 2 switches? Wait, there's 2 switches in this intro. Who the hell's the other one? Wait, there's so many characters in this intro. Wait a minute. What is going on? It's like a switch that's like cyan and green. Okay, you know, I don't... Dude, these intros are whack. I don't know what's going on in these intros, like, ever. And, like, the laptop is red, even though they're literally not. I don't know. Either way... you end up having a couple of redesigns again. Not too many this time. Bowling ball gets a shadow. That's pretty much it. Like, they end up being massively shadowed in the redesign, so that makes them a lot darker blue. Does it look cool? It looks alright. I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like, it would look alright in certain moments. However, you know, it looks odd in certain places. It looks alright in certain places because it obviously kind of depends on what the actual lighting of the room is. However, so I maybe wouldn't recommend it as like the lighting, right? Especially because again, no other character is backlit in this way. However, overall, it's pretty cool. But yeah, alright. Then we end up having overall the characters be doing their thing. We also have an elimination time thing, which is pretty interesting. We end up having the eliminated contestant be Magic 8 Ball, who gets them with 2 votes. So yeah, it turns out that apparently the purple Xbox case is called Sasha. So that's the character that's called Sasha. We now know. We now have this knowledge. So that's good. Yeah, they end up dipping away. Remote gets a new voice. The stereo ends up keeping their robotic voice, and the 8 Ball drops down to the elimination area. Or we end up having the rejoin, where the rejoiner ends up being the whiteboard indeed. Pleading did work, and to be fair, why the hell would you vote any of the other ones? Also, my favorite part about the last thing was that for some fucking reason, Fortnite was up for region and didn't even have a scene where they could speak. Like, huh? What? Like, what is? How do you? Why? But yes, whiteboard ends up joining. The pleads worked, and again, there's like, you can't bring a character back after 2 episodes. We're too early. I know you want to do the favor. You got to chillax. You know, you gotta chillax a little bit. You gotta do some other stuff. Eventually, apparently, Xbox made a bet with Dirtblock for $100, and then of course, Dirtblock proceeds to give them $100, but with a dot after the 1. They give $1. And Xbox just doesn't notice this. So you know what? I guess they can't read. So that's new knowledge that we saw. And then we end up having the challenge. So the challenge is you'll all be on top of the sky base, 5,000 feet in the air. You have to get down. How will you do this? Well, it turns out that the most efficient method to fall from 5,000 feet and survive it is to just do it, bruv. What do you mean? You think it'd be hard to land a fall of 5,000 feet in the air? No, it's easy peasy, lemon squeezy macaroni. Literally, like majority of the characters just kind of fall for a reason or another, and then they're like, oh, I'm not dead. Yeah, so like, that's crazy. Because like, okay, I understand certain characters. Like, for example, if the whiteboard jumps down, would I expect the whiteboard to break with that drop? Probably not. Would I expect like a remote to break when I falls off from that height? Yes. Come on. The only 2 characters that end up dying are the characters that kind of brawl each other out, which is bowling ball, and the other fellow was building a stairwell that was like blue Joy-Con. So the only characters that just directly die from it, which is kind of like, bro, it ends up being a little goofy. But yeah, in general, fellas end up doing that. Again, there are tools to get down, but you can just do it. The Switch has become a proper sales vendor. I like what the invisible spray. Okay, I actually did like the fact that the invisible spray now costs $2 when in the original advertisement it cost $1. So I hope the next time that we mention the invisible spray is gonna cost $3. That would be really funny. Like we're adjusting for inflation. I can't believe that this show has nailed down inflation. But yeah, you can get the potion for like $100 apparently. So yeah, they end up also grass ball and ass balls end up drinking their own potions that give them more health, which is nice, but not potion the character. Potion the character is still one of the mysterious things of the universe, but they keep going, they survive, the other fellas die, and then it turns, these two die, then another character died. Oh yeah, the bouncy ball ends up kind of dying because they end up hitting the spikes at the top, which means that whoever didn't make it down to the bottom, so they end up being, keeping themselves up for, like, they're not disqualified, however, since they don't get revived, they end up being up for Elam, so end up having the character down for elimination be, I feel like the computer, the double Joy-Cons, the bowling ball, and the bouncy ball. I mean, this feels like a big, like a gigantic ploy to get the bowling ball out. I mean, the bowling ball has been the menace. Right, the bowling ball has been like that menace character, that character like nobody wants to be around, right? We need to get rid of this one, right? So, I mean, if that's the character that we gotta get rid of, then, like, that's the character that we gotta get rid of, right? So, in general, yeah, two voice actor credit, yay. Here we get to see kind of their assets a little bit. Yet again, Potion is credited here. Who the fuck is Potion? I swear to God, bro, if Potion doesn't show up in this series at some point, and like that's just like a relic from whatever previous installment, like whatever imagination was going on, I'm going to fucking riot. I'd actually be protesting. But okay, what are we doing? Oh yeah, we have to jump into the next episode because it's time for episode number 6 of Battle for Powers, which is titled The Epic Food. Let's go. Whoa. Okay, I have a feeling that these are going to be the 2 sentences that I will say literally every episode. However, there is a new intro, and the characters have gotten redesigns. Oh my god. Well, what the hell is this show doing? Anyways, yes, we have some redesigns. We have a challenge, by the way. That's just the make food challenge, the classic made food challenge that every small object show needs to do. The 2 teams both trying to pull off making a pizza. However, they both failed dramatically. Unfortunate, because I did just eat a pizza like 30 minutes ago. So, I must admit that, like, I did feel some camaraderie to the teams there. However, then they bailed on the pizza because they ordered a pizza and they got scammed. Have you ever gotten scammed in a food delivery? Yes, you've gotten scammed in a food delivery. You got a fake pizza, like a plastic pizza. I've never seen somebody. That's definitely a thing that's happened, right? Like, there's definitely a thing in real life that they just gave, like, a paper cut out of a pizza instead of an actual pizza. Like, surely that's happened before. But, like, I've never seen that story, but I'm sure it's happened. Like, it has to. Like, there's no way. In life, there's too many pizzas in the world for one of them to not have been fake, But, anyways, as I said, there's a bunch of redesigns. There's mainly a couple of, like, reworks to have characters be capable of facing a mild tilt, because we realized that, like, characters facing directly forward is kind of weird. So having characters with a mild tilt is rather nice. So you need to, rework a little bit. For example, having dirt blocks, like a bit of side profile showing, right? Then we end up having the elimination where Bowling bots got eliminated. Gotta be 100% for real. This is not a subscribe. This is not a subscribe. What? This is so true. This is not a subscribe, guys. Did not subscribe. Yeah, anyway, yeah, that's not a surprise. And then we have ourselves the intro, which, by the way, is actually interesting because we get to see a different name. Sonic Mario B01 presents. I don't know if that's a real name. Again, I don't understand. Like, this is the level of new intro per episode where it genuinely feels like we're memeing. Like, it feels like, is this a joke? Like, is it a joke that there's an intro every episode? Because, like, it generally just, how are there this many intros? Holy, but yeah, Sonic Mario Best One presents a object show. This has to be a meme. An object show. Are we for real right now? An object show. You'll notice I've cut off like 3 times. I keep getting interrupted by fucking BS ass people. Come on, bro. I want to review Battle for Powers, and we're out here getting interrupted to do real life things. Come on, I want to talk about this object show. Anyways, yes, we have a different song, which is a pretty good song. Then the characters are appearing super quickly. You'll notice there are not enough characters on this show for it to successfully fill out the lineup, so it ends up just looping like 4 times. You could just make it appear slower. Like, you could just do that. I mean, if you think about it, it's not synced with the song anyways. So like, it's not like it's trying to get synced with the song. It isn't. So like, in general, it's not like, it didn't really need to try as much as it did. But anyways, we had to have the challenges to get food because we have a new co-host who's Potion. No, it's not Potion. Potion is still not real. Potion, it has still been confiscated to work in the farms of West Virginia. But we have here this new fella called Green Square. I don't know what you are. Wait, didn't you say your name? What was your name? Hold on. You just said I'm a cool guy. Okay, so cool guy dropped. He's got a couple of algebraianistic qualities. He's capable of recovery. He's capable of suck people up into their inner world, just like 4. So yeah, we got an algebraianistic host here. Their challenge is to make them food. The 2 teams end up scrambling at the last minute after the pieces failed to go fetch out some food. And we ended that one team. Oh yeah, PS4 drops by with a steak because PS4 is like, no, I'm just here to watch. Proceeds to help out the team, bro. Like, what are you doing? But anyways, the PS4 has had a mod redesign. Again, their characters have had redesigns. The Joy-Cons are like, they're more detailed, but that also means that they're a bit lesser quality, right? Like, the asset looks a bit worse because it's doing more detail, but the detail looks worse, right? So yeah, Zero's team steak is not cooked apparently, even though that's the image of a cooked steak. Do you not know what an uncooked steak looks like? And then we end up having the lover team that ends up getting them a cake, which is alright. They didn't make the cake, so it shouldn't get a 10 out of 10, but it gets a 10 out of 10. So I guess it wasn't. No, the challenge was make me food. It wasn't get me food. So they should have made food. Gonna be absolutely for real. But alright. Well, it's time to jump right into the next episode of the hit series Battle for Powers, which is titled Fight for Victory! Yes, I'm so hyped. Go! Okay, so that is a Battle for Power 7. That was pretty alright. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like here is when the show starts to improve a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm feeling a little bit of improvement here. In terms of just kind of the general vibe of jokes. You know, like I'm feeling like these jokes are pulling their weight a bit more in terms of timing than they were before. Like in this episode, like you can see that some jokes are better timed. Like just that entire scene with the fellas in the water, being dead and everything. Like I feel like those are pretty solid. Same thing goes with like some of the jokes near the elimination time, right? Or like with Roblox jumping up and then being stuff. Like I feel like those are jokes but like they require a little bit more. Like they require a bit of planning to do jokes, right? Like you got to think them through. Even if they're really basic. This is like the basic of the basic. However, at least it's there. Right, so I feel like there's a degree of something going on here, which I think is pretty interesting. So some characters get their models back to the ones that they had before. We end up having a new intro again, probably the most useful intro because it actually shows every character with a decent amount of time given to them, so you can properly kind of clock their names, you know, that you can see Shasha. It's not amazing sometimes when the text is on the screen, like, you know, you put the text Xbox One on a green text saying Xbox One, that makes sense, but you put it on top of the freaking green background, like, what the hell? Right? So I mean, I don't really know about that one, but yeah. We get to see that apparently computer can turn red when they are angry, which we get to see properly in effect this time. And then some characters get their voice reversed to their pre-counterpart. So we get some vocoders again, which means that we end up getting to see a computer with the vocoder, which they already had. We get to see remotes back again with their vocoder. Whiteboard has a vocoder now, which I don't remember them having before, but to be fair, I don't remember many things about Whiteboard. So yeah. Has it gotten better? I mean, like, in general, like, the backing audio has gotten a bit quieter, so it's a little bit better. However, in general, it's definitely still, I don't believe that the mic quality is good enough to support the vocoder, so I would probably just get rid of it. Right? Like, right now, I'd probably be like, yep, we tested it out. It's not great. We should probably bin it. All right, like, that's kind of my opinion. However, you know, we end up doing how we're doing out here. But we end up having, this other intro. Hey, at this point, there's just an intro every intro. You know, there's just a new intro per episode. We got to get used to it. There is no such thing as an intro that lasts for more than one episode. It's just not possible, right? Like, we've just not discovered the fine arts yet. So, like, in life, we just gotta do intros. And then we end up getting sent over to Minecraft to do the elimination ceremony because Green Gale fella's hosting. I don't know where the hell Sonic went. Sonic just dipped. And, like, Sonic already just dipped. I remember Tails, that was the co-host, bro. They took Tails out back and shot him. I don't know what happened. Like, this fella just dipped. This fella's non-existent. I still don't know who Potion was. That is still one of the most. I swear, Potion better show up in like episode like 12 or something. I don't know. I better see Potion show up. Like, you can't have that character exist and then not ever show up. But anyway, this cool green fella ends up doing the elimination in Minecraft, where Roblox ends up getting eliminated. And they end up getting sent over to the elimination area. That's a fish tank. For some reason, I'm presuming that they can breathe in the fish tank, because otherwise that would be pretty bad, right? Like, they would all drown very fast. So that'd be great. Oh yeah, we get to see the new designs for the controllers. Yeah, now these Xbox controllers, they're actually designed like Xbox controllers. They're quite nice, rather than how they used to be designed. So the challenge, what the hell is the challenge? Oh yeah, the challenge is just a murder. Like, it's just like, wait a minute, hold on. Well, let me check. It's just a fight. Yeah, the people who die are up for Elam. That's about as simple of a challenge as you're gonna get. But we're in Minecraft. Dirt Block ends up making a comment about, yo, it's my hometown. Well, I mean, consider you don't even know that you grass instead of dirt. I don't know if it's your hometown. You ain't never looked at a mirror before. But Whiteboard teams up with the two balls, which is the ornament. Remember the ornament? Yes, and then the bouncy ball. So they end up teaming up, and then randomly, to be continued. And the episode just ends. That's it. Nothing else. The episode just ends. To be continued. And that's about it. So that means that this is technically, of course, going to be 7A, right? Because, like, episode 8 then presumably would be 7B. But remember, for some reason, some shows, they just don't like the idea of doing A's and B's. Doing episode A and B. That is gross. So they don't end up doing it, even though they absolutely should. But overall, yeah, I absolutely feel that there is a general improvement going on here. I feel like there's more jokes that feel like they need a higher level of at least thinking about it, right? Like, we're still relatively low tier. However, I believe that we're improving. I'm seeing a little bit of potential here. Okay? All right. Episode 8, Craft Time. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 8 of Battle for Powers, called Craft Time. So, okay, I'm gonna be honest, right? So, like, I was kind of following the episode, you know, I was looking at the events and everything. I was like, okay, I see what's going on, this happened, it's now nighttime, challenge ended, right? Okay, sounds good. But then the green guy, or whatever you're called, like, I think that the name that they assign themselves is just all cool guy. So like I don't know. But yeah, anyway, the cool green fella host ends up going like, all right, there's like 1 minute left, right? Okay, sure, there's like 1 minute left, or 4 minute, whatever. But then like the challenge just kept going, and then it kept going, and then it kept going, and now it's daytime, and the challenge is still going, and then it kept going, and then it kept going, and then it kept going, and then it was on and on and on and on. And at a certain point, I was just like, oh my god, this is too much to keep track of. The challenge never ends, right? Because it was so confusing. It was like, oh, the limited contestant need to go sit on the balcony, but no, this one can go sit in the house. But like, then this one exploded but didn't die, and then this one can get recovered, but like it's a different thing. Like you see, it's just it starts to it really starts to line itself up. I kind of wish the challenge had just ended when it said it was gonna end, because that would have been nice. I mean, like they do address it, like they do go like, oh, my timer ends randomly, but like yeah, okay, I get it, but like, at the same time it's like, bro, like what in the world? I don't know, understand like any of that, but yeah, overall, this episode's alright. I mean, again, it has some action and it has gags. Like, again, like, they're not, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they're the most amazing gags in the world, but it does actually have gags now, which it didn't before, right? Like, the whole joke with the constant, like, loop of death that the red Joy-Con had, right? Because they can't get eaten by the monster, they can't get revived right in front of the monster, right? So it's like, that's fun, and then try different things each time, and it's like, at the end of the day, these are jokes and they are fun. Or like the creeper exploding because they didn't have like the creeper being the waiter, and then when they try to like they don't have the money to pay for the food, they end up like exploding as like punishment, right? Like these are solid ideas, comparatively to again the first batch of episodes, which had pretty much no ideas to it, right? So overall, it is rather solid. Okay, what else do I have? To say about this general thing. Oh yeah, so remember how I said the vocoders came back in episode 7? Yeah, I mean at this point there's currently like what 5 characters with a vocoder. So like the thing about it is that like this whole shebang, it's partially a meme issue, it's partially a skill issue, right? However, yeah, I'm gonna be absolutely for real, that is hurting the show quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yes, the vocoders, they make the characters sound different, but I don't know what they're saying. What are they saying? I don't know, like, anything that the TV say. I can catch, like, maybe 33% of what a character like TV is saying, right? I'll catch it a bit more if it's a bit easier. Like, whiteboard, I'll usually understand more. But, like, a character like TV, I just nearly don't understand at all. Computer's really hard. Like, it's just kind of annoying. Right, which is unfortunate, cause bro, come on, bro, like I almost don't understand it. And again, I'm saying YouTube doesn't understand it either. It's not just a meme. YouTube doesn't understand it half the time as well. So I think it's a fair critique, right? But yeah, so if you remember, this is of course a 7B, and it is a rather action-packed episode. We should probably check, when did this release? I should probably check, because I feel like that's pretty useful. No, I should know. So this was February of 2022. Canonical date August to 2021. Yeah, so like it's supposed to happen like every month or something, but it doesn't, because of course it's it took longer. August 21. Yes. Okay, so this episode canonically happened in August. All right, sounds good. Then next up, we start off the episode with the intro. That's true, because I guess we don't need it because it's a 7B, but like whatever. We end up having a couple of characters. I don't remember the TNT fella was here in the first time I watched this intro as well, but if they were, they're in here now. And then we end up just having, the challenge, which is to, if you remember from episode 7, do a murder, right? The people who are dead are disqualified and therefore are up for elimination. Don't die, and therefore, of course, you're encouraged to be the one safe by not dying. There isn't that much encouragement to not to kill. Is kind of the main thing that's happening. That's a little bit problematic here, right? Is that like at the end of the day, why would you do a murder? Like why? Like, because at the end of the, unless there's an enemy you want to get out, but at the end of the, it's a relatively high risk scenario. when actually like there's no reason to, because like for example when it's like a team challenge, right, and it's like, oh, the team who dies, all the members are free of them, like at the end of the day it's like, yeah, you could just wait it out. However, at some point 18 needs to strike, because like a certain amount, like, yeah, because that's how it goes, is like a certain amount of people have to be up for elim, which means at a certain point somebody needs to act, right? So like with teams it works, but here in this situation where it's time based, I mean it's time based, quote unquote, I don't know if this is true, the green guys invent whatever they want, but like in general, like there's barely any incentive to actually do it. But all right. Xbox ends up making some plushies of Roblox and them to comfort Xbox logo, which is very nice, I must admit. Xbox logo's design seems to have been relatively finalized at this, which is interesting because it doesn't look that much like the Xbox logo. Like it's a bit too thin, isn't it? Like, look at how thin these lines are. These like 2 pixels wide. Like, come on, you can make them like at least 5. Like, I mean more than that. But in general, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, you get the gist, right? But yeah, then we have PS4 logo. Oh yeah, by the way, okay, you know what? Never mind. Eyelashes are. Remember, I said their eyelashes existed. They don't. They were confiscated. In this episode, the only time the character has eyelashes is PS4 collector when they're sleeping. But I don't know. I don't think PS4 collectors are gross. So I don't know how the hell eyelashes work in this. Eyelashes are just like however you feel like it. Eyelashes are like, yo, we feeling like eyelashes in this scene? Hell yeah! Like random eyelash moment. So I mean, we'll just go with that. Then they end up having the PS4 collector, which the Joy-Cons want to die. That makes sense. They are competing brands. The PS4 ends up getting the rocket launcher and the taser to the battery so that they can use it. Then we end up having a sticker training the other fella. Okay, and the Nintendo Switch wants to sell them the killer spray. Yes, the killer spray that apparently murders anything you spray it at. It's actually very, very effective. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, with that spray, Nintendo Switch should probably go and cause some havoc, but they don't. They just end up selling it for $1 quadrillion. But actually, no, they just give it for free to their sister and bro. So we know the Switch and the Joy-Cons are related. All right, that's good. Good knowledge to have. So. Indeed. I mean, like, you would have guessed, but, like, you can never be too sure, because maybe it's like, oh, the Joy-Cons are related to each other, but the Switch is a different species, because the controller species is a different species than the console species, right? So then it's, like, a different thing, like, like, kind of that thing, but, like, in general, it kind of ends up, you get it, right? But, yeah, that killer spray, very OP, should probably get used by somebody at some point. Then we end up having a couple of people get hurt. At the nighttime is when the kills start to kind of happen, because some people get tired of bullshit. We end up destroying the TV, and then we end up ripping up the sticker, who end up dying, and then we end up having the other fellas. The Alliance whiteboard and the 2 circles end up coming in, wanting to pick up another member for their Alliance, and then we're just kind of debating about who they should get. Constantly, they were like, should we whiteboard? No. Should be this guy? Yes. So I think they end up getting whiteboard onto the strategy. Oh no, they try to ask whiteboard, it doesn't work. That's true. Then we end up having the 1 minute left, which is not 1 minute. I'm gonna be absolutely for real. Then we end up having the daytime starts to happen. We discovered that the Xbox logo is capable of making people teleport into the Shadow Realm, which apparently is the area for some eliminated contestants. Cause Sticker ends up in like the elimination area or whatever, the Shadow Realm. But like, I'm confused, because shouldn't the eliminated contestants be on the fish tank? Isn't that the thing that was going on? So how is there a contestant down there if there's a contestant over here? Like, what's happened? Like, what's cooking? I don't really know. But something's up. Something's fishy. But we end up having the TV sits in the house because they died. That makes sense. Then we end up having the fella die. Oh yeah, there's somebody else who lives in the house as well who got out. Who got out? Sticker got out. You see, Sticker. Wait, Sticker. How do you end up? Where did you? What? Sticker is in all of the places except the correct ones. I don't know what is happening. I think we just forgot about the fish tank thing. And then the Joy-Con scene happens with the Joy-Cons dying constantly. Then we end up having this. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I did find the line funny of Sasha, who's in a purple Xbox box, complaining about their freaking thing, like like Xbox Series X or like Xbox One, whatever it's called, ends up dissing Sasha, and then Sasha goes like, yeah, that's why your dad left you, and then it's like, no, wait, you're the same dad, yeah, because that's true, they're both Xbox and Microsoft, so that makes sense. I mean, I'm presuming who would be the dads of these two? I mean, probably an Xbox, right? There's two ways you could go about it. It could either be Microsoft because the company that built it, or that could be the other Xbox, right? Because it could be like, oh, the Xbox 360 is the dad of the Xbox One, right? That maybe something like that. Like it would make a bit of sense. But either way, yeah, that was a fun line. When you're having cereal, cereal is so hard to understand. Like it's not easy, man. It is a battle out here. For the brain, the ears need to focus in a lot. The other fellas, Grasswalk and Aswell somehow end up in the like the 7th character to show up in the Shadow Realm. Slenderman's there, unfortunate, but sometimes they just get caught out by Slenderman. And then as the episode's ending, the challenge suddenly ends because they felt like it after this mysterious character TNT fella explodes. After getting rage baited, and then we have the fellas that are up for elimination be none other than Red Joy-Con, Sasha, the Xbox, then Sticker, the ornament, the bouncy ball, and the television. Who should get out here? Probably Sticker, I think, would make the most sense, but I don't really know. Like, we still don't get a lot of scenes with each character, but I think Sticker's like the most theoretically mean, right? Because like majority of those bouncy balls, they just kind of die. Like, majority of these characters kind of die out of dumbness rather than dying out of too much of a reason. So we'll say that Sticker gets out, but like other than that, I don't really know. But overall, yeah, the episodes certainly do give me vibes of improvement. We're definitely at a higher tier than we are, but there's still, an infinite amount of room for improvement from here on out, and we're heading back again. This is the long stretch of episodes. These are the episodes that are long, so we're just gonna need to, go out here, find out what is going on with these episodes, because it's time to start off by going to episode number 9, because episode number 9 is titled none other than, Snow Showdown. Alright, it's time for the Snow Showdown. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 9 of Battle for Powers. We are slowly making our way throughout this series, but hold on. Okay, so I just got confused by something, which, this thing kind of made me realize this episode, right? Because I was like, okay, so, the ornament was the eliminated contestant, whatever. Ornament pretty much had no screen time ever, right? So, like, this really was not an elimination surprise to anybody. I think it was a contestant vote or something. I don't really know what happened. However, all I know is that they were eliminated, okay? But, like, they were eliminated, and then something was said is that they got eliminated in 20th place. Okay, so that's kind of crazy. But then I was like wondering, right? Because eliminating 20th place. Wait, that means that there's still 19 characters in the show. But if there's 19 characters in the show, there should be at least like 18 more episodes at minimum, right? But there's like 6. Like the episode 15, which is the one released 11 months ago, is titled "See You Later." So at the same time, is it over? Like, it's like that's kind of the question. Because like, I don't know if I'm watching a series that's done. I don't know if I'm watching a series that's done. Because "See You Later" is a very, very end title. Like a finale would be called "See You Later." Like, absolutely. It would make perfect sense. That's why I'm trying to find out right now. Like, is this a series that has happened, or is it not a series that's happened? I mean, I'll find out, of course. But like, as of right now, I have no idea if I'm watching a series that's concluded or a series that's still going. Right? But anyways, this episode released in May 1st, which is exactly time for Christmas. So that means that, yes, it ends up being Christmas time, and we have an episode set around Christmas and snowballs and stuff, and they all have fun. This episode has, I think, one of the bigger issues with snow environment is that it's very difficult to make a snow environment look that interesting, and in fact here it kind of doesn't, because it's like when you have a regular basis, right, you can have, a blue sky or even a gray sky and then a floor that's like green or something. Like, there's a big contrast, right? However, the thing about it is that, like, in a snowy environment, you end up having a white floor with a whitish gray sky, and then it just looks pretty unappealing. In terms of a background, it doesn't really feel like a lot of the time like the characters are actually. Sorry, I might have hit the microphone. Like it doesn't really feel like the characters are that much in the world, because like, it's difficult to see environment because you can't see off in any type of distance. It's just gray. So like, I think snow environments in these 2D shows, that kind of hurts these shows quite a bit, to be honest, which is, it's a little bit unfortunate, because like, snow is cool, but yeah, on the side of this, I mean, it's not amazing. What I'm wondering, right? So, in Nintendo Switch's asset, why is the Joy-Con why is the thumbstick that far to the left? Like, what is it doing there? Like, what is the point of that? It's literally so far to the left, it's going off. Like, why? There was no need to do all that. And again, that's also not the composition of the Joy-Con at all. I don't know who made the Switch asset. Like, I don't... It is not correct. I must admit. But okay, fine. But yeah, we end up having some fellas chill out. Oh yeah. Dude, listen, I was like not focusing that much in the first bit of the episode, and then it was like, hey, look, it's Freddy Fazbear, and then we end up having like a 30-second long scene of the fella just chilling there. Dude, that's something that this episode does like 4 times. Like, it just, like, I wish good writing was this easy. I wish that this was considered good writing, because then good writing would be so easy. You would just randomly, for no reason, be like, hey, look, it's insert a meme here, and then insert a meme here plays. It's like if I said, hey, look, it's Skippity Toilet, and then Skippity Toilet played, right? And then everybody started crackling and dackling. Right, like, it's just that'd be great if that's how hot comedy works, but unfortunately it's not quite. So I don't think this quite lands. But yes, oh hey, look, it's Freddy Fazbear. But alright, so we end up having the fellas. If you're curious, I'm not gonna mention it too many other times because you get the gist. However, I still absolutely don't really know what any of the characters with a vocoder are saying. Pretty much don't, not at all. Whatever this remote's saying, don't know. About the same as not speaking. Gonna be for real. Don't catch a single word. Like, you can tell. Like, really, can you? Like, can you go check? Really, no, go check this episode. Like, can you understand what the hell remote's saying? Like, I don't know. I literally don't have the slightest clue. Like, it's generally unbelievable. But either way, we end up having the elimination with the fellas. We had hey, look, it's Jelly Bean. and then the freaking meme, like, bro, stop. But either way, we end up having the elimination. We get to discover games that Minecraft plays. Okay, games that Minecraft plays: Catch, Murder Mystery, and Minecraft. Wow, that is the list. That is one of the greatest lists of all time. Then ask, what about Fortnite? Apparently, no, it can't do Fortnite. Fortnite Battle Pass. But yeah, it's we know about that. Then we end up having the elimination with the 6 votes. We end up having the eliminated character be the red ornament. We end up having an intro. I'm not gonna lie. I thought this was the same intro, but it's actually mildly renovated. Like, the second half of it is renovated to fit like the snowy aesthetic. Yeah, after like whiteboard, it ends up getting renovated. I think to fit in like TNT block better. And either way, I mean, it makes sense because one of the things about the last intro is that it was proper. It had a time to spare, right? Like, it had like a 5-second gap or something between the outro card and the end of the outro credit where you could fit stuff in. So you can fit stuff like thematic to the episode, I guess, in that time span. So I don't actually mind. I think that is pretty good usage of, the situation. So I mean, I saw it. Yes, Sonic Mario Boy. I still understand. Is that a 1 or is that an I? Because that would make sense if it's like Sonic Mario Boy. But Sonic Mario BO1. Like, what? What does that even mean? Like, no, because here's the deal. Like, again, I've hosted tournaments before, so when I hear BO1, I just think best of one. Right? Because, like, BO3 is best of 3, BO5 is best of 5. I don't think that's what that would mean. So maybe we're just trying to be cool, all right? Like, we don't know, but I'm sure that's what it is. Anyways, the green fella, like somebody asked, yo, where's Sonic? And this fella's like, can you tell me? Nope. Anyway, the challenge is a snowball fight. Get hit and you are out. They hit the wheel of elimination. Wait, the wheel of elimination? What? Okay, interesting. That is... Yes, that is the wheel of I don't know, but like either way, yes, we end up doing that. A eliminated contestant joins each one of the teams for the sake of exist. I don't know. They already have so many people on the team. Why are we adding eliminated contestant into these teams as if these teams don't still have like 7 people per team? Like, come on, this is not. We don't need all this. We don't need it. It's okay. It's okay. These teams they can just do it. But anyway, we end up starting it off, and yet again, as it goes with these teams, you'll notice that it's incredibly like low at the start. Like pretty much nothing actually happens in this episode, in terms of attacks. Like a couple of people get hit. We end up having TV die. Like that, but like that's not pretty much the only person that got hit. Then the green fella ended up trolling, being like, "Yo, you can't actually recover anymore. I trolled you. You can't recover anymore. You're dead forever." But then apparently after like 30 seconds, I was like, apparently he said that was a joke. That I was just scared. It was just a ha. So it seems like you can get revived. Okay, that's good stuff. Good to know. Then we end up having the fella, and then right at the last second, right as the challenge, right as the challenge is about to finish, we end up having batteries debating with the remote, and then Shasha goes like, you know what, this team sucks, I'm leaving. This team is crumbling apart, bro. The Xbox One doesn't want anything to do. Oh, that rhymed. Xbox One doesn't want. Sorry. Xbox One doesn't want to be around anybody else. They just want to fly solo, even if it's actively hurting them. Sasha's like, I'm dipping, I'm quitting, I'm leaving. Which I must admit, that's badass to just say that. And then that being the last line of the episode, yeah, that does go kind of hard. But, that team is absolutely crumbling down. If they somehow win this challenge, that would be pretty crazy. But I mean, I don't know. I guess we're gonna need to find out in due time. It ends up ending off with a random shit post, which is fun. But yeah, I mean, dude, like the last few episodes, I mean, 2 episodes worth of episodes. If you combine the last few episodes, I mean, like that, because this episode needs to get combined with the next. That means that would make a 22-minute total episode. Like at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that's actually going on here. Like there's just a high quantity, which means that in general, like I'm kind of surprised, right? And I mean, the longest episode, which ends up being the one after the next one, is 17 minutes. So yeah, in general, like this show's definitely picking itself up in terms of length. Absolutely. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes. In terms of the gags, I think that this episode has them. I don't think it hits quite as hard as the previous one, because again, it just kind of does like reference humor. Like, dude, it's not automatically funny if you just say, oh hey, look, it's a meme, and then there's a meme. Like, there has to be a little bit of context behind the joke to make it funnier, because of the context around it. A lot of the time jokes are more reliant on the context around them than the joke itself, right? So if the joke is just, this is Freddy Fazbear, it's like, okay. I mean, yeah, actually it was funny when I said Freddy Fazbear because it was random, but after the second time they'd say Jelly Bean, Fortnite Battle Pass, I was like, okay, I get it, we're doing memes from 2023, because it was 2023 when we did the thing. So that we don't need to do all that. But it goes how it goes sometimes, and how it goes. We gotta do the let it snow. All right, it's I don't know what I'm saying. Do you ever just start chatting absolute bullshit? Like sometimes from time to time. Yeah, this is the type of improv that would be denied if I were to script these out, but I don't script these out. I do these proper improv. I'm proper Battle for Powers styling this one. All right. Okay. it's time for episode 10 of Battle for Powers, which is titled none other than Snowaway. Alright, that's actually a good title. I know, right? Crazy. Let's go! Go. Okay, so that is episode 10 of Battle for Power. So how the fuck is this challenge still not done? Oh my god. What the hell? Okay, so like basically I don't know how to exactly describe what this is. However, I think that the best way I can describe this episode, right, is like, and like this challenge as a whole, right, is that like this show has like you know how I said like, oh, it's good at it's script and it's doing jokes and it's trying to like make things happen. Yeah, this show has kind of scripted itself out of making any sense, right? Like it is simply going because you write things is that okay, let's get something to happen. So then what's the line that you write? You write the line, oh, I'm leaving the team. Right, and then it's like, what? But that means that everybody can leave the team. Let's just swap in teams. Okay, team swap. And then you end up forming 3 other new teams. Okay? And it's like, wait a minute. So does that mean that the show just restarts from where with the different teams? Like, you're allowed to do that? I mean, of course, the cool guy doesn't care. Right? But, like, okay, I guess you just do that then. Right? So then the challenge restarts from ground zero. Which means that the last episode doesn't fucking matter. Like, at all. Oh, so that's cool. That's great stuff. And then, like, it kind of writes itself in the complication because it just says shit, right? Like, it's kind of like, for example, how in the last episode, it randomly was like, oh, you dead forever now. Like, I'm sure that was, like, written as a line. Oh, I'm going to write this because it's, like, a big, important thing. And then you realize, no, we can't do that, right? So then we end up kind of having, like, this massive complication. And yeah, that's kind of what goes on here. It sort of writes itself so much into a random arc that it doesn't function as an arc, right? And then it ends up kind of making no sense. And I'm going to be 100% for real, being a little boring. To be fully honest here with you. But like yeah, it does something. Also, here we have the new writing tactic of the episode. We picked this up from the great Sun Tzu. So imagine this, all right? Character, like, imagine this scenario. Okay, this is a scenario that happens, I'm not even joking, 8 times during this episode. Okay, character says a thing, proposes an idea, says something that they want to do, tells somebody to do something, just says anything. Other person, no. That's it. This is a consistent interaction. Like, you just say, like, you even if you say a logical idea, no. If you say something that's dumb, no. If you say something that's smart, no. If you say something that doesn't have anything to do with anything, no. Like, if it does, like, how much do we need to hear people say no? Oh my god. And we're still doing the thinking, oh hey, look, it's blank. But like, it's still like, I don't know. I do definitely fit the writing. I'm not gonna lie. It picked itself up in episode 7, kind of stayed at the level of episode 8. However, I feel like these 2 episodes have certainly brought it down. I'm not gonna lie. It lowered itself down. I just checked the talk comment. Hold on a minute. Songs are BFDI songs or made by me. Yo, what? Yo, what? Custom music real? But yeah. So we start off here with the fellas talking about screen time. By the way, that's just a thing that they can talk about. By the way, like, what? that is meta. That is quite meta that they could just talk about. Oh hey, remember that one time in season 1 when I had 10 seconds of screen time? Like, okay. We have another intro. Dude, there's not. I'm sorry. This many intros cannot exist. There's got to be a template, right? Surely. I refuse to believe we're spending this much time making an intro every time, right? Surely this bro's just looking up intro, flip a clip file, right? And then it's just replacing the characters, like generic intro, Google search, and then just replacing every time and just do it with a different one every time. Cause like, I don't know why. Why does it keep changing? There's no reason. Like, it just goes from one generic intro to the next. Like, it's not an improvement. It's not a deterioration. Like, it's not going forward. It's not taking a step forward. It's not taking a step back. It's taking a step sideways to the same thing. So I don't really know. I do think I prefer it a lot, the other intro though. But like, I mean, this is an intro, like for sure. It's one of the intros of all time. I'm gonna need to be 100% honest. Um, and then, as I said, everybody decides that they're gonna be switching teams because they don't want to be on the team. So then they're making some new teams, which end up having some fellas. Okay, so the first team is titled the crafters, because we're in Minecraft. I am a dirt block, which is from Minecraft, and this is the world Minecraft. In the name of Minecraft, all those crafting tables in the name of Minecraft, you can craft with them. True. No, actually, it's all false. Actually, because remember, dirt block isn't a dirt block. That's still so stupid. The dirt block character is actually a grass block, and it is driving me insane. Like, what the hell? They don't know the difference. The grass block is grass on it. That's just grass. Oh my god, whatever. Then the second team is titled the Slippers because it'd be funny. According to Sticker, which is here, by the way. Wait, you're here. Oh, yeah, you didn't get eliminated. Okay, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, the Slippers ends up being here, because it's funny. And the last team ends up being called the Joys, because the team that ends up being formed by Joy-Con. We don't have a full cast image, so I can't exactly try to analyze who the teams, because unfortunate. That is something that I recommend quite a bit, by the way. Like, take the advantage of the moment when you have to show off the team name to properly try to like indicate like give the full team image as well, because like personally I find that one of the most useful things is whenever the team shows up I can just pause it. Right, and then I can just look at the team, because then I can like if I need to, I can etch it into my brain. I can like when I'm doing, for example, Catchup, I can like analyze it from there, because I can just directly look at the characters on the team. Right, like it's really useful, because having to fetch them out from memory, it's very difficult, especially when, remember, I don't understand 5 of the characters in the show. Like, it's just like the words, they don't get to me. You know, they're too vocoded, too auto-tuned. Like T-Pain moment, and then we end up having some fellas, and now we actually end up doing the challenge for the next while, and I mean, they're doing the challenge to be honest. Like, it's a relatively action-based challenge. However, like, again, there's not really a perception of who's in or who's out to where I can understand that much, you know. Like, to be honest, it's kind of difficult to grasp. There's no UI like work really being done here to do too much, you know. So in general, like, I'm not too big into this challenge, because like in general it's you know, it's relatively okay. They end up hiding off in a tree. For some reason the tree is gray. I mean, I guess the leaves are frozen, right? But like I don't know. Just like, the thing about it is that they're hiding in the tree, right? But the thing is about they're hiding in the tree looks exactly the same as the elimination area. So for a moment I thought they got eliminated. Like, it's because it's just a gray thing. It's just a gray room, you know. And it's like, what? They got eliminated. Yeah, then the TV's there, and for some reason the snow on the TV has turned into gray, because it's actually not. Because actually there wasn't snow on the TV. It was actually just a crack. I mean, that it just wasn't there, and it just looked like it was snow there, right? Like, all of this stuff still ongoing. Then we end up having them fellas. They found an abandoned submarine. Sticker's team, which is called like the slippers. Sorry, the sandals. Yeah, the slippers. And they're going there in the submarine, and they're just like, all right, we're gonna chill here. All right, fair enough. They're having grass block randomly throw in a Burger King food. You see what I mean? You see that? I forgot about that scene. Like, that's what I mean. It does reference humor by just saying shit. Like, it just says the thing. Like, not for any type of reason. It doesn't actually try to make it function into anything. It just says the thing. You know? Like, there was no reason for Grass Block to come, for Dirt Block to come in and say, yo, this is the Burger King number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. Like, it's kind of, I understand that it's a meme and it might be funny, but why is it there? It wasn't there 2 episodes ago. Like, you see what I mean? Like, that's kind of the swap. Like, it started from the Snow episode. It just started to throw in memes. You know, it just started to sprinkle it in, and it sprinkled it in a lot. like it appears relatively consistently, and it's like I don't really know why. I don't really know what is happening with that stuff. However, like I mean, I guess like okay then, which is something like that. Then what do we end up doing? They're over there then trying to to use the radar for fish. Okay, that's true. Ben is here. They say no a couple of times. Then they end up having an ice bath. We end up having Joy-Con just randomly dive into the water because you can do that now. Remember how a couple of episodes ago they were doing the thing like, oh, you can't jump into water? Nope, you can jump into water now. Up, bro. Can the electronics go into water or not? Because the correct answer is no, they can't. However, like, it's object show logic. In object shows, a lot of characters who can't go into water can go into water, right? Like, or like a food, for example, Like, you'll probably be able to see a character like, I don't know, friggin' taco underwater because, like, it's not that big of a deal. However, like, in general, like, an electronic tends to not be able to go underwater. But yeah, they can at least say so, because like we end up having certain characters who just dive in, and certain characters who make a whole fuss about not being able to go, and whenever they go, they die. Right? So like it was literally the theme. It was literally the joke. Episode like what 7, but like we already forgot it. So all right, cool. I mean, you end up freezing, which is different. Like the circuitry didn't break. Because remember, as they said, ice can't kill you. As this was one of the famous quotes. That was said. So like all right then water shows up, the famous season 1 character. Why do you think I know? I don't know. I like how like there is like not a single tiny amount of effort placed in getting the Xbox characters, like the Xbox box or whatever they call it, and then Sasha, to actually like have that symbol look decent. Because every time they look to the left, the thing was just inverted. It's like Zobux, like bro. Water gets drank by the fella that has become a cyan Joy-Con now, because they're doing that. Then we end up having a last second debate where I don't know what the hell they're saying, because again it's remote having a conversation, so I don't really know what we mean. And then Xbox dips away. So overall, that is the episode, right? Is that the episode? Yes, that is the episode, Snowaway. Somehow this challenge is still not done, and we're about to jump into a 17-minute episode. So if this challenge only ends by the end of that episode, that would be, what, a 39 total minute long challenge. So what the hell is gonna happen? Because that's about to be crazy. Well, but there's only one way to find out, and that is to jump right into episode 11 of Battle for Powers, as there's water in the background. Y controller is in this episode. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 11 of Battle for Powers. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, okay? I don't like putting negative adjectives on stuff usually, right? However, I have to be absolutely for real. In Object Catchup, right? In Object Catchup history, I don't know if I've encountered an episode as unbelievably, unequivocally, unashamedly pointless as this is. This episode has no reason to exist, and it's the longest one. This episode pretty like it makes negative progress into the show. We're on episode 3 of this fuck ass snow challenge, while we end up having like a negative, like the amount of characters after hold on, so like in episode 9 you have an eliminated character, okay? So then from episode 9 to episode 11, because of the character that joins in this episode, we end up having a -1 character throughout the last 3 total episodes. This show is never ending, because like it doesn't matter, and it's like one of those things, right, where it's like, it's the host is so unbothered as well, right? Like the host just doesn't care about anything, so like, it kind of doesn't matter, right? Like this show just goes off the rails, and like it probably would work like this if it actually happened, because the host is just so unbelievably irrelevant You know, like the host is just like, oh, you want to randomly switch teams in the middle of a challenge? Sure. Oh, you want to join the game for no you random person to come by? Sure, you can join. Hey, you're telling me to do something? No, don't care. Didn't ask. That is something that happens a lot. I feel like we might be fond of the concept of saying no to people. You know, I don't know why we're so fond of this concept. Um, because it's what like every character does, and it's like it is just really. I mean, there's not a lot going on here, right? Like there is a little bit of lore, right? Like that gets picked itself up, but like again, it's one of those things. Where it's like, okay, I understand the lore. But you can put the lore in an episode that has something happen because, like, this episode again, this show isn't getting closer; is getting further away from ending. How? It is oh my god, like it's actually unbelievable. It is like by episode 9 it theoretically had like 50 more episodes. Now it's still now it has 60 more episodes to do. I don't know, it's generally unbelievable. Okay, but there's a couple of stories that we get to hear. The intro is the same one as episode 10, and then we end up having the characters get onto the igloo because now there's a Joy-Con that's pink. Yeah, no, that's pink. That's cyan. Okay. Then we end up having talking Tom to try to get rid of Tom. However, they accidentally break a hole in the wall to throw Tom out. But that means that the submarine is starting to sink. Because for some reason they have to be in the submarine. How are they hiding in a submarine? I don't really know. And they will apparently drown, which is not good apparently because they cannot swim or something. But yeah, they try to block the gap with the fridge. This ends up completely not working, and we end up having some things. Xbox turns super. We go yellow Xbox. We go like super Xbox. I was trying to think, like, has Xbox ever used the yellow version of the logo? I swear they have, like one time. It could, or is it no? I don't think they have. It's because I think like the inverted Xbox 360, like if you invert the Xbox 360 logo like yellow, I mean like imagined it sometimes, but I don't think Xbox have ever used the yellow logo. Even though I mean like technically like the center of the Xbox 360 logo, like the actual swoosh itself is kind of yellow, right? Is it? Hold on, I should probably check. I have an Xbox game on me? I should check. Well, I should check with like an Xbox game that I got currently, because I don't know, but I don't no whatever, it doesn't matter. I'll just Google Xbox 360 logo. Does it have yellow swooshes? No, it has green swooshes. Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, never mind. All right, never mind. Like the very center is yellow, but all right, it's like lime. Okay, got it. Understood. Anyways, next up, we end up having what did they end up doing? Oh yeah, they end up deciding to hide underground the Joy-Cons and the white controller, and I'm hiding underground because nobody would expect us to hide underground. Let's do a gigantic digging thing. I like what we're at least doing with Nintendo Switch. I do like that dynamic, right? Because it's kind of like it's something that we've never. Like characters have been, but we not explored too much, you know. Like a character like Yellowface, for example, famous for adverts and having constant products, right? However, we never really explored too much of how the hell Yellowface like day-to-day operations ever actually decide to operate, right? Like we know that there's a factory where they have a million things that appear somehow randomly for no apparent reason, but like that's like pretty much the extent of it, right? Like there's not too much else that's actually like going down there. But at least here with the Switch, we get to find out like how they like make the stuff. Like you can see how they're like taking notes, they're like doing research, they're like properly figuring out how to get this stuff done, get the stuff out there. And at least it's interesting, you know. It gives some like character development rather than just being annoying ad salesman, right? So I don't mind that part. But then eventually they end up meeting Sonic. You recall like the shadow kill. You recall like this. What are you called? You recall it some type of killer. But anyways, they end up making them slow down. They end up Switch uses one of the sprays that they have to currently put them down for a little bit. And what is their name? Hold on, let me check out what their name was because I forgot what it was. Ashley Killer. don't know why. Ashley Killer is their name. So we end up having discovery. So okay, so White Controller, all right, actually got lost in a cave system for a couple of months. Okay, this apparently happened. I don't know when, but it happened. Okay, so that means that they got replaced with a robot version of the White Controller that was there. So the ones that were in the elimination area was the robot version of the White Controller and not the real White Controller. Okay, the real White Controller is that was lost in a cave system, and then in the cave system they end up finding Ashley Killer there for, so, you know, because they're in the cave, and then they managed to survive because of the, okay, hold on, let me show you the story. Hold on. So first I went missing because I couldn't escape. I thought it was going to be a fun hiking trip. Yes, hiking underground. I went for a couple of minutes. I was about to leave. Then I was woken by the killer. Feared people. Flashlight, paper, door, box. Some people already know for season 1. Okay. I don't think door is a person from season 1. Is box a person from season 1? Flash? I don't remember these people at this point. But anyways, he managed to break free from the evil mind controlling curse of the fella. So they end up doing that. Nintendo Switch ends up asking for the power so they can make a spray that blocks Andrew Killer. Because that way, that's going to be their new bestseller, you know, for all of the many people that suffer from this problem. From all the many people around the world that suffer from the pop of, just, damn it, I just wasn't well protected enough against Ashley Killer, against the more powerful version of Sonic.exe. So they end up having the mind controlling, flying, possession, Scotch strength, and shape-shifting. Interesting debate that actually gets brought up that I think is interesting, even though it's not really relevant, but I want to point it out because like this episode isn't relevant anyways. Possession and mind controlling, are those the same things? No, right? Because like, okay, here's the deal. Possession is the act of literally taking over a body. Right? Like when you possess someone, you are now within their body, right? Which means that you can act as them, right? Which is similar to mind controlling. However, in mind controlling, like possession is internal. You're literally taking over the body. You're possessing it. However, mind controlling is external. The body is still theirs. You are just tricking their mind into saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. That way, the person itself with the controlled mind ends up going over to do their action. However, it's like a command, right? With mind control, you're doing a command. With possession, you are directly doing it to yourself as the person. So mind controlling and possession are actually two different things. I understand why they're similar, like they're similar ideas, but they are two different things, right? So that is an interesting debate though. Like that got me to think a little bit, you know. So that was overall pretty interesting. But yeah, Nintendo Switch will go over and make a spray. Anyways, the fella wakes up and they end up leaving. They end up running away until eventually the other team ends up being like, yo, let's jump back in. Yo, let's go back. You know that's dangerous, Sonic fella. Who even cares? Let's go back in the hole, boys. Like what? Come on, bro. Are we that little scared of Ashley Killer that we end up again? Oh, I already forgot your name. Ashley Killer? I don't know, whatever. But didn't do that. Anyway, Sticker ends up escaping the submarine that was sinking, but then stopped sinking because it ended up being, you know, they ended up dipping away. Oh yeah, by the way. Oh yeah, now that I think about it, that's true. The bowling ball asset has changed mildly. I just realized right now, like while I was looking at it, yeah, this asset is different because like the way that the shadow was on the bowling ball a couple episodes ago is very different now. The bowling ball is right now. Now there's kind of like a half moon around it that's shadowed. It looks way better, to be 100% honest. It looks way better. So that makes it. So that's good. You know, we at least got that part. Okay, then the TVs end up getting murdered because they don't feel like it. This team is just sabotaging and stuff down there. And then we apparently end up having the dirt block ends up being like, I'm trying to beat Minecraft speedrun world record to be the best speedrunner in the entire world. which is interesting. When was this? This was July 2022. Did Dream cheat? Yeah, I don't remember when the Dream cheating happened. To be honest, I don't remember when the Dream cheating scandal happened. But either way, yeah, Dream did technically hold a Minecraft world record for a little bit, but it got called out immediately for being cheated. Because it had ungodly levels of RNG. And the run itself had a lot of RNG, but you check the session was an unbelievable amount of RNG. So like in general, you would have to have edited RNG values to do all of that shenanigan. But anyways, yeah, Minecraft. But then, yeah, okay, like, this is another thing that this show does. So this show is a big fan of making people say no, and this show is a big fan of making people come in with these groundbreaking explanations, right? But now, well, you see, you're actually the Minecraft logo, so you're more popular than Dream. And then Dirt Block ends up going like, yeah, but I'm gonna do it anyway. That is such a thing that happens, right? You end up saying, hello, I'm gonna do this. No, because of X. That's true. But I'm gonna do it anyway. It's like, bruh. Bruh moment. You know? Like, it's just, like, I don't know. Personally, I'm not a big fan of interactions that work like this. That's just kind of how it goes. I'm not a fan of interactions with no value. Right? And I feel like this is partially why I'm actually not a big fan of 4. Did you know? I'm not a big fan of 4 from BFDIE because, like, especially early BFD4, is like, it's a lot of interactions that are pointless, right? Like, it just kind of person says a thing, and then 4 just goes like, no, right, and then screeches you. And then, like, I don't really like that because, like, it feels kind of pointless. Like, I don't like to watch those interactions because it gets nowhere, right? Nothing evolves when an interaction like that happens, right? So I don't like it, basically. And that's why I feel like I'm getting kind of lamed out of the show, because like it's so much of its interaction. It's so much a person says a thing, the other person responds to no and doesn't elaborate. That's a useless interaction, pretty much, because nothing happens. Same thing goes for an interaction saying, no, I'm going to do it anyways. And it's like, okay, you literally agree, but you're doing it anyways now for no additional reason, right? Like, nothing ever evolves from a conversation that happens. Everything remains exactly the same as it was going to be. The characters never change what they're doing, and the opinions never change, right? Which means that, like, in general, it's pointless, right? It's flipping pointless, right? So, in general, it's kind of like, bro. But either way, the freaking Nintendo Switch invents a shovel spray, because of course he did. And then we end up having. When did you have time to do that? When did you have time to do that? Anyway, the challenge ends, however, so the team, the gamers or whatever, the crafters, end up being up for Elam. However, the last second they showed that they managed to get some video that actually showed that they got hit at the same time, so they should be safe, because the other team was safe. And then green fella goes like, oh, correct, sounds true to me. So then that means that everybody's safe. The other fella joined. I don't know. I don't even remember who the hell joined. But like they end up joining, okay, and then that means that we have a little, the amount of progress that gets made, not much. The sky is suddenly red, for some reason, not exactly sure why. They're now doing a play for some reason, not exactly sure why. Something moves in a bush for some reason, don't exactly know why. That is, but yeah, so we end up having this stuff. Oh, I do actually really like the gag of there being like, the reasons why Whiteboard would guess that there's a bush. Like, oh, it could be an animal. There's no animals here. Wait, why? It's like, oh, and then it's because of him, and it's because Minecraft was XP farming. Dirt Block, who doesn't know he's actually a grass block, was TNT farming. That's fun. That's funny. But anyways, yes, we end up going over to the fella to be like, yo, can you switch up the sky? And be like, no. Can't do that. And like, okay, that's fair. I mean, you can do anything, but not that. Apparently, not that. That is not one of the list of things. Yeah, apparently people won't try to find out what's going on in the bush. To be fair, like, it's kind of one of those things where, yes, you can think about what's going on in the bush, but at the end of the day, like, you can only think about it. Like, you can't do much of it. Like, if you see something moving in the bush, yeah, you can try to do something about it, but like, it's not. If there's nobody in the bush and there's nobody in the surrounding area, that's like, what are you gonna do about it? You know, like, you can't think too much. Otherwise, it's gonna like make you go insane. So in general, it's kind of like, yeah. It's like, yeah. But anyways, then at the last minute, we end up having some people kind of theorize the blue Joy-Con. The blue Joy-Con doing a pretty good amount of theorizing here, being like, isn't it kind of suspicious how we keep asking where Sonic is, and we keep deflecting the question? It's like, yeah, that is suspicious. That is actually very suspicious. That is a very good assessment made here by Mr. Fella. However, what is gonna happen with that, I don't really know, but Sonic is nowhere to be seen. Tails is dead. Tails, there's no way Tails is alive right now. And then Poison, remember Poison? Now, to be fair, this fella that showed up, the Ashley Killer, I'm pretty sure they were in one of the intros, in at the intro of episode 6 or whatever the hell. The characters from the intro, they are showing up. So I'm still a Potion appearance believer. Okay, Potion is arriving any day now. The super important character Potion is dropping onto the scene any moment. I'm telling you, it's about to happen right here, right now. Okay, it's time to jump to episode 12. It's time to jump to the modern, quote-unquote, era, because these old episodes were released July 31st of 2022. Episode 12 was released on March 30th, 2024. It's a gigantic gap of time. Let's see if there's a gigantic gap of quality. Episode 12 is titled Collect Until It's Done. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 12 of Battle for Powers. So, it has been a bit, of course, since episode 11. However, I will say that, well, first of all, what aspects have improved? I will say that there is that aspect of animational consistency, which I believe has improved quite a bit. The characters just tend to look more proper more of the time. Right, we managed to sort that out, how I can expect a character to look like that character for pretty much the full extent of that character being there, right? Okay, sounds all cool. So that's the main thing that gets solved here. The animation itself, it's a little bit more fluid. The acid looks a little bit better, but in general, not too much has changed. It's just more consistent, right? Okay. In terms of audio, I would say that in terms of audio levels, we are pretty much fully fixed. I would say this sounds good in terms of having the music be quiet, having it be louder. I still believe the files with the vocoder, they're a little bit more complicated to understand. However, especially with the way that it's mixed here, I believe that they are easier to understand than they were in previous episodes. I don't think it's amazing. I'm still not a big fan of I'm not a big fan of the vocoder voices. However, I get it. All right, sure. And then we have the writing. Now, did the writing get better? Did it? Okay, so here's what happens. Here's how I'm gonna describe this episode. Okay, this episode feels like what would happen if you wrote a first draft, right? And then that draft was it. That's the extent of it. It feels like you're writing a first draft, right? So you're writing all of the little scenes and ideas that you want to do, all of the quick gags, all of the moments, right? And then you put them in. But the thing about a first draft is that usually the pacing of a first draft, it's impossible to consider pacing in a first draft usually, right? It's hard to do. I mean, it's possible. It's hard to do, right? Because you have to think about a lot of factors, right? About the episode before you've even thought of them, right? Before you even conceptualized it. So that's why it's kind of complicated. When in a second draft you can look directly and compare lengths of things, importance of this compared to events that you wrote later, right, that you can't do on the moment. So that's why I feel like other drafts are better. However, this gives me proper the vibes of draft one type of script writing, right, where it's you just have what is a tremendously slow challenge at the end of the day. For majority of the challenge, nobody does anything. And you'll notice this was the same thing as well. In the snowball challenge, it took ages for anybody to do anything. In the previous challenge before that, it was also the same thing. The crafting challenge, it was the murder each other challenge. It took ages to do anything. Because there's a lot of scenes before. However, that just murders the pacing, So like it ends up it ends up being like that little complication, because it's like there doesn't feel like there's a second draft where we remove the fluff, right, the filler, right, because at the end of the day, like, we want to keep, like, I understand I want an episode with a little bit more interactions. However, you still want an episode where stuff happens, right? Like, at the end of the day, everything's a balance. You want interaction between characters, but you also want action to happen relatively often. You have to sprinkle in the two. If you're adding more fluff, you also need to add more action, right? You need to make it feel justified, rather than watching 5 minutes of fluff or 2 minutes of action, right? It's kind of like that. That's like the best way that I can describe it. But the way that this episode went, and like the biggest fault here, right? Because it just kind of feels slow. In terms of the challenge here ends up being to collect moon shards in the underground cave system of the moon. The fact that it's on the moon doesn't really matter, because like it looks exactly the same as a cave would in the real world. It has a couple monsters down there, I guess, but like I don't know. Like, in terms of what I think of it as a challenge, it's okay. I will say that, like, majority of the time that the contestants spend on this challenge, for some reason, they just spend trying to find their teammates, and it's like, I don't know why. I don't know what the benefit of being with your teammates even is, right? Because surely the best idea is you just go fetch as many as you can. Moonshot. Like technically being split up is better, because again you get to cover more ground and get more total moonshards. And also it is indeed probably better to split up, because yes, because that way, like, if you're all combining your moonshots all together, then if somebody does manage to steal it, then they're gonna steal 100% of your team supply. Rather than, at least, if one person gets their shit stolen, they're gonna only steal, like, what, 30% of their supply? Like, you're still okay. You can take the heat at the very worst, right? So being split up is better, but every contestant just spends like 6 minutes searching for, like, oh, where's my team? I don't know, right? And they just keep looking at it. It's like, well, I mean, it's not, you can't just find it. It's not that easy, So it's kind of annoying as well. This type of challenge, it's alright. However, it really needs UI. If there were it is unbelievable how much better this episode would just instantaneously be if there was a little thing at the top right that showed how many moon shards every team had right now. It would just, like a tracker, a counter, a live counter. If it was just up there, and as soon as the team, and when a team got a shard, got it. When a team stole it, updated. You don't understand just how much better the episode would be if that was there. Because it's like, we see these steals, and it's like, well, how much is at stake? Which team is in the lead? Is this team in danger? Is this team gonna be in danger if they lose it? Right? Like, it's all these questions, which you can only know if you have that data about who's safe and who isn't safe, right? But when you just see it, it's like, oh, they're stealing an amount of moon shards. Is it a lot? Is it a little? Does it even matter? Is there a team doing worse? Is there a team that needs to find it? Is there a team that's at this slow? Right? Like, all of that stuff. When like, it really needs to be there. Like, that stuff is really important for it. Like, that, this episode would literally improve 3 times over if that one change was just there. Like, it would have been massive. It would have been genuinely enormous. But either way, it works how it goes. Anyways, we have a couple of renovated intros for this show. In fact, yes, I said a couple because you think an episode having one new intro is a lot. Take it to two new intros in one episode. What the hell? Who needs 2 intros? We are obsessed with making intros. What the hell? But, like, okay. They're both pretty solid, though. It's interesting because, like, I'd understand as well if it was, the first intro is because it's the intro for a cool guy and the second intro is for Sonic. But, like, at the end of the day, they're not, because Sonic appears in both of them anyway. So it's like, what? What's the point? Whatever, bro. we end up having the fellas in Minecraft, which I honestly had forgotten that they were in Minecraft. Because remember, they went to Minecraft and then it snowed, so we never actually got to see any of the Minecraftness, which is interesting. I will say, by the way, like even though the environment wasn't Minecraft, even though they were canonically in Minecraft, I will just point out Minecraft does have snow. Like you could have just like freaking made it snow on whatever map it is. Just saying, and it would have probably been cooler. But either way. Yes, we end up having the cool guy host the challenge. Had to giving it a few minutes, and then as he's about to start hosting the challenge, after a couple of debates, whiteboard. By the way, I'm sorry, whiteboard. Just like there needs to be a little bit more of the wood showing, because it just looks like a white square. If I don't pay attention, it's just like, yo, who is this white square character? But yeah, you end up having this. Them two again trying to bouncy ball on them, trying to get a new member for their alliance. They cannot get anybody to join their alliance. It is an absolute disaster. We end up having Switch find a diamond, which is going to make them rich, however it gets stolen. And then we have Fortnite over in the fish tank, who shows off their skills. Just going to point out, by the way, going to point this out. I will notice that in this Fortnite clip, the person in second place, it's hard to read, but I'm pretty sure that says Sonic Mario. So that means that this is probably a genuine clip. Like, this isn't fetched from the internet. This is like a real clip from the creator, which I think is fun. Right? That's fun. We get to see a proper Fortnite clip from them. So that's funny. Then we end up some random characters. We end up having TV kind of just be... TV's kind of moody because they went blind in one eye. That makes sense. I would be moody about that as well. But, like, we end up having... they end up being moody, and even where the challenges kind of sit down, it's like, I can't do anything. To be fair, they do have one eye that they can still see, and they can get fixed up, and recovery centers do in fact exist, especially now that Sonic's back. But like in general, I understand being down about that's fair enough. So yeah, then we end up having the Xbox has a mild redesign. It's just like way more lateral. It's kind of been dirt blockified, in the way that it kind of has a constant tilt to the way that they look, I guess. The second intro is I think it's worse than the first one. Yeah, I think I'd say so. But like either way, they're both relatively same level. And then Sonic comes back. Where the hell was Sonic? I don't know where Sonic was. I'm gonna be absolutely fair. I don't think Sonic explains where the fuck he was, what the hell he was doing. Apparently Tails went off to do his own thing, so Sonic has a new co-host. It's the one, it's the only Potion, right here, debuting as a co-host. Potion, the one and only mysterious character from like 4 intros back at the beginning. Potion is officially real. Ding, 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 Potion. Good job. They end up also becoming the new elimination area. I guess instead of going into the fish tank, you're going into the potion tank. It's gonna be red. But yeah, Potion is here to co-host. Let's go. Didn't I say, is Potion arriving randomly on episode 12? I swear I said that. I swear I said Potion is going to randomly appear at episode 12. Did I say 12 or 13? Oh god, I gotta have said 12. Please tell me I said 12. That would be the craziest read ever. Okay, that would be the craziest clock ever. I'm not gonna lie. But either way, yes, then we have the challenge, and then the teams, what they do? They do the challenge. Again, they really don't do that many interesting things. Like, that's kind of the thing. They're not doing that many interesting things. They're looking for their teammates, or they're just finding shards. Like, there's really not that much to it. Apparently Sasha, by the way, returned back to their olden team because they got bored of being on the other team, so they want to go back to this team that they were originally bored of being in, which, I mean, okay, sure, why not? I believe even the boxes like the Sasha, which by the way, we do actually have a interesting usage of the fact that Sasha's an Xbox box, and we end up actually placing the moon shards as storage within the box itself, which is nice. It's fun. I like it actually. I'm a big fan of when objects are used, of when like in an object show objects use their object nature, which is something that this object show has severely missed. I'm not gonna lie, like the amount of these objects which actually use the fact that, like, the fact that this bro's a sticker, the fact that this bro's about it, like, that does not matter, right? Like this show, like, has been firmly in the category don't matter. This isn't a critique that I make a lot because, like, it's a critique that people disagree with, actually. Like, again, in my personal opinion, if we're making an object show, one of the coolest parts about object shows is that objects are in it, so you can really free it up to kind of make some interesting ideas with the objects being capable of using their objectness, right? But this is not a thing that a lot of people agree with, necessarily. So, like, in general, I don't call it out. I'll call out a show for not doing it, right? There's more important things than that. But yeah, I will have certain things. The TNT explodes like a million times. Oh yeah, they dropped down a hole. I don't remember what episode these fellas originally dropped in. But like, it was one of the old ones. It was one of the first ones. Like, in general, I'm not gonna lie. These shows that kind of go super slow, they like these earlier episodes. They have definitely kind of started to fade in my brain. They've started to kind of mesh. And I'm not gonna lie, which is a little bit unfortunate for it, but if your series is slow, I think that's just kind of one of the things that might happen. So my bad, Chief. And then eventually, at the end of the challenge, we end up, after they have a battle or whatever, right? They have a battle, and it's kind of cool, and it's kind of just off screen. Like they do a bunch of stuff. The Slippers manage to win the battle and steal everything from the Joys, meaning that they get 56, and the Joys get 10. The Crafters are safe. Are they safe? Yes, they are safe. Over in second place by just kind of being middle of the road and not getting involved in too much. So the Joys are up for elimination. Blue Joy-Con, Xbox control, white controller, red Joy-Con, computer, TV, and Nintendo Switch. Who's getting eliminated? I have no idea. I haven't predicted these in ages because I have no idea. I mean, the TV was kind of like all like, I don't want to do it. So maybe them, but like I don't really know who's getting voted out in these. To be 100% honest, right? Like I've had like no clue for like a while now. So yeah, is there a post-credit scene? Oh yeah, no, there isn't a post-credit scene. This show is like random. If it wants to have a post-credit scene or not, it just does it based on like vibes. It just vibes it out. Like, you want to have a post-credit scene? Yes. You want to have a post-credit scene? No, it's just vibes. It's pure vibes. Alright, well then, that's the return. It does some things correct, it does some things wrong. Overall, it doesn't actually change too much. It's time for episode number 13, which is titled Climbing to the Limit. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 13 of Battle for Powers. So, significantly shorter episode than the last batch. However, it's not really for a faster pacing. The challenge is just minuscule. The challenge just happens to take the teams like 1 minute. Because the challenge is just climb, and then it's like, okay, fine. Right, you just climb, and apparently everybody is an excellent thrower and manages to throw all of the armless contestants up without a singular worry or problem at all in the art of doing that. So, because of that incredible capability, this challenge ends up not being a problem at all. But it takes about 4 minutes and a half to get into this challenge, and the episode is about 6 minutes. So it's not a very well distributed time, right? Because it takes about 4 minutes to get into the elimination, and in the 5th minute, I think we started chant something around then. But like, yeah, so it's not a very well distributed time. I still believe it suffers from a couple of same issues, but like, in general, it's doing what it's doing. It's fun. We end up having ourselves trying to ask, what happened to Play Season 1? It's like, apparently changed. No, apparently it's still there, but we're not going there because we don't feel like it. Yeah, it is kind of weird how the environment keeps changing, but at the same time, the environment keeps changing. Y'all just went to Minecraft, and that's not weird. Y'all just went to a video game. I don't know what the logic is here. What is weird at this point? I don't know. We end up using the intro. The first intro used in the last episode, intro number 1, which was indeed the better one, and I do think it's a very nice intro. It has all the characters show up, which is something that's happened before. However, like, it gives it a better general purpose, so like what the characters are actually doing in the intro, so it feels like a more representative intro. So yeah, we end up having this alliance finally find somebody who wants to join it. They end up asking Sasha, the person who hates their team, to join. That's smart. That's pretty good. So they end up asking Sasha to join, who is the person who has an active negative allegiance with their team, and they ask TNT Block, who has no allegiance to any team. Nobody really likes TNT Block. So they end up chilling there, and they're having technically a fifth member, but either way, they end up having the newbies, which ends up joining. They form a team called the Newbies. Sorry, these four. Because they were always trying to break away, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy they managed to do it. I'm happy they managed to finally form the breakaway that they were so wishing for. And then we end up having the elimination, where the eliminated contestant ended up being TV with 4 votes compared to 2. Yeah, that makes sense. It was not looking too good when it came to having TV actually stick around in the show, because at the end of the day, it would have required TV to die at some point, right? Because otherwise TV was just kind of like loner. Right, because here's the deal. The reason why people eliminate contestants that don't feel like it is because it feels like an unrecoverable situation a lot of the time. Because TV was looking at it and didn't really feel like doing this challenge. Okay, fair. However, the thing about it is that, when you look at it and when you think about it in your head, you're like, okay, but will this really be different in the future? Right, will TV be worse will TV randomly start doing challenges with a blind eye? If TV is not doing it because of this right now, why would they do it because of this in the future? Right, and then we vote to TV because of it. Right, it's the same example how, for example, in a bunch of object shows, you end up having that character that's like a box, like a box from II Syndrome, right? Where it's an obviously irrelevant character, right? That doesn't move and doesn't do anything. No, I don't mean current box. I mean the box from season 2, right? Season 2, early, and season 3, right? That box character, the box style, right? It's that character that's completely immobile, doesn't do anything, but everybody treats them as God anyways, right? So that type of character, people don't vote them out because they necessarily did the worst in any given challenge. However, they vote them out because they're never going to do anything. There's no indicator that they're ever going to do anything. So they vote them out in advance, right? Even though they weren't necessarily the worst performer. Was DVD the worst? DVD. Was TV the worst performer? No, I don't think so. I think Y Controller was probably the worst performer because they could have done something and just decided to sit there next to TV doing nothing as well, right? So I think Y Controller was probably worse. However, at the end of the day, TV is the one that feels less recoverable, right? When in the next challenge, Y Controller is going to do things and TV isn't. So that's the reason why they get eliminated. Challenge ends up, as I previously said, to climb a rock wall, and it's about as, again, it's a really simple challenge. It's it doesn't, not much is, there's really nothing to it. You just end up that they climb or they don't. And it turns out that all the teams are managing to climb it, except the Joys, because the Joys have the unfortunate situation of the fact that they have the heaviest armless contestants, right? Because in general, the armless contestants ended up being balls, and the other teams were sticker red as paper. However, in this situation, by the way, when I like the idea of pushing the sticker by a fan. However, that was the complete wrong direction. That sticker was not going to. That sticker was going all the way to the downtown. That was not the correct direction at all. But they had the bad luck of having the heaviest arm of the contestants in the controller, and nobody could carry them because nobody was that strong, right? Because in general they were just kind of other controllers, so it was a little bit unfortunate that they had such heavy armless contestants in the form of computer, which they can't throw, especially because they're also electronic, so a throw would destroy them. So in general, it would fail. They kind of didn't have much that they could realistically do about this challenge, so they end up losing twice in a row. They end up kind of losing because in general their subset doesn't have a lot of variance to it, right? They're all relatively heavy contestants because of their shared name. So that means that when they have this kind of physicality based challenge and they lose out on the physical and they don't have a subset that matches it, they're screwed because they're just globally the same, right? Which means that they don't end up there's not enough variance to really get much done. So it's a bit unfortunate. Episode 14 of Battle for Powers is titled, This is Getting Real. Okay, alright, reality time. You know what? When it said it was getting real in the title, it wasn't lying. It got real. That's true. So yes, in this episode we end up having a very simple challenge. At the end of the day, it's just a get from one room to the next. However, in real life, OMG. So yes, you have to do that in real life. So that means that yes, Potion is hosting 4 of his episode, by the way. For the first time we get to see Potion hosting. They don't really have a personality, I'm going to be absolutely for real. But yes, they end up hosting in this episode, and you have to make it from the bedroom to the living room, which is like 2 rooms over. You have to make it past 1 hallway and 1 door, and then you're in. So it's a really easy challenge. However, of course, you have to navigate the real world, which, but again, there's no obstacles or anything. It's very simple at the end of the day. Like, it's cool. It's cool, however, it is kind of simplistic, and not every character ends up having a real life counterpart. Okay, let me check. Who has a counterpart? Red Joy-Con, yes. Sticker, yeah, sure. Then we have white. Okay, so hold on. Let me check. Out of the contestants in the show, whiteboard. There's no whiteboard. Okay, no, but these have eliminated contestants as well. Wait, who got eliminated? I don't remember who's on the show. Now hold on. Let me not take a look at this via the intro. So. Yeah, the cereal, there's no cereal. Cereal doesn't appear. Like, look, I understand the joke of, okay, there's no real counterpart. There's cereal in real life, I promise you. I 100% promise you there exists cereal in the world. So I don't know, well, so like, some of it is just you don't have it. Okay, just saying, alright, but yeah, you have the Xbox case, you have the bouncy ball, which there's not an equivalent for a bouncy ball. Hold on, so wait, so this team doesn't have a whiteboard. There exists whiteboards in the world. Like, I'm sorry. I know. Like, I understand if you're saying, oh, there isn't a real life counterpart for TNT, even though, of course, there's like merch. But like, there's not a real life counterpart for Sasha. That's a purple Xbox, unless you go and you dunk an Xbox case in a bucket of purple paint. Yes, okay, fair enough. I can understand that. But there are certain things that you just don't have, and we have to be honest about it, If you don't have a whiteboard, that's okay. You just gotta say, I don't have a whiteboard. If you don't have cereal for some reason, then like you just gotta say you don't have cereal, and all that stuff. But a lot of the important people are there. A couple characters, like, we don't, hold on, who doesn't show up? The Xbox logo doesn't show up, that's fair enough. How do you have an Xbox logo? It's like, rip it out of the console. PS4 collector, they're not there either, because we don't own a PS4. A computer, well, they get eliminated. So, like, in general, we have a majority of the contestants. We don't have everybody, but like, we get it. We get the gist, right? And it turns out that, yeah, because out of the contestants, pretty much none of them were on the team or on the newbies, we end up having red ornament to do it for them, the eliminated contestant, because a red ornament does exist, more than a whiteboard. And we end up having them be safe for that team, and then eventually we end up having the Joys, who what teams get safe in what order? I don't even remember. We end up having the Joys, I think, are relatively safe, because, yeah, hold on, who makes it then? The Joys make it 3rd, right? Yes, they make it 3rd with the controller, with the white controller. And then the crafters forget about the Xbox One. That's the thing. Xbox One was there. They forget about him. Not there. Not much to say about it. And they end up forgetting about it. To be fair, I don't know why Xbox One wasn't going. I mean, to be fair, Xbox One does suffer from the biggest handicap by being in real life, because of course an Xbox One is very bulky compared to something else. But yeah, in the meantime, neither Dirt Block or Cereal were there, present as part of the challenges. Again, dirt exists in the real world, and cereal does also exist in the real world. So, I mean, I think you could have probably done it, but I understand why you wouldn't want to bring dirt onto your house. I would understand. That makes sense. That's fair enough. Cereal, I don't know, cost like $2. You could have bought some. But the team is up for Elam, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't have to look exactly the same. Like, the remote that was used for remotes is a different remote, and it's an Xbox Series S that gets used instead of an Xbox Series X. It's like, come on, it's fine. But overall, I mean, look, it's a relatively experimental episode, and it's a relatively fun episode as well. This one, I believe, is paced significantly better, because you see, like, and it was a more enjoyable experience, because the other episode ends up being paced where it's 4 minutes of blabber, 1 minute of elimination, 1 minute of challenge. In this, there is like 1 minute of blabber, 1 minute of elimination, and then 4 minutes of challenge. Much better, because at the end of the day, the challenge is the nitty gritty. We are here in an object show to see a show. Right, so it ends up being a much better paced overall equivalent than the alternative, which is not doing that. Right? If does that make sense to you? Yes, I hope that makes sense, because that's the point that I'm trying to get across. Over here, that like in general, that this is like the pacing charade, right? It spends this show, and just in general, even in the in the older episodes, it suffers a lot from this. It doesn't put a lot of focus on the challenges. It puts a lot of focus on interactions. And there's a lot of shows that do this. That doesn't sound like a bad thing if I just say it. But like, if you look at the types of interactions that happen with the show, not that much evolves. You know, a lot of it, as I said, a lot of it was just interactions of somebody said the thing, other person goes no, or random roasts, random disses, be like, I don't like you, and be like, I don't care. You know, like half of the interactions is just somebody says a thing like, hey, you were mean to me. Yeah, I don't care. That's like 3 characters, maybe even 4, like, to just do that, right? So like, but it's interactions like that. It's not progressing the plot, and it's also not doing the challenge. That is what I consider fluff. That's what I've been calling fluff, right? That type of interaction I consider fluff, because it benefits neither of the two segments. It's just kind of a thing that's there. Every episode's got to have a little bit of fluff, right? So that way it's not just constant bang, done, 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 done. However, despite the fact that every episode needs fluff, you can't, like, this episode's it has too much fluff, you know? It's like when you get when you order something from Amazon, it's like you order like one card from Amazon, like something super small, like a USB or something, and it ends up on a massive box, like something like that, you know, like too much fluff. Alright, anyways, it's time for the finale. I don't know, it's time for the latest episode, which is 11 months old, and despite that, we still... it's 17 minutes long. It's titled See You Later. This really does look, from just metadata alone, like a finale, because there's no episode after. It's titled See You Later, and I don't know. I don't know what it is, but we'll have to find. But like, it's really not. But like, looking at the show, there's no way it's the finale. So I don't know what's happening. I guess we're gonna need to find out in due time. Episode 15. See you later. Episode 16 is coming soon, Soon, very soon. Very soon, anytime, honestly, truly anytime. Anyways, that is episode 15, the currently latest episode of the Battle for Powers series. Maybe the last one. I'm not sure what the status of this show is. It did, of course, go on a year and a half hiatus before, so it can do it again, right? But yeah, overall, it kind of locks itself down. It's not that grand of an episode. It's a pretty big episode, to be fair. Like, it does a pretty big challenge. However, it's not. It doesn't end up being too much of a, grand episode. It doesn't feel like a closing of any chapter episode. It just feels like it's kind of the episode where eventually we didn't manage to make the next one. Right, like, there's not too much special going on with it. So we do have the start here where we end up having a couple of chats about the classic banter. At this point, like, again, you see, I don't know, the banter has not really changed. I'm gonna be absolutely for real. They have a couple of conversations. They talk to Sticker, and Sticker is never helpful. They talk to Serial, and Serial is never helpful, right? Like, these, like, the general interactions that go on in the show really don't change. There's White Control and there's Nintendo Switch that are off having their own random trash talk every 1 minute, right? Like, in general, like, the actual amount of interactions that change here, not that many. Like, I understand the chart, the relationships chart. It's all like, you can kind of get it. The personality charts, I got it. Right. We end up remembering Whiteboard's immunity ticket. Remember the immunity ticket? To be honest, I didn't. But yes, the immunity ticket that got granted out at one random episode. Which, yes, Whiteboard got. So I think they gave it to the contestant that won like the debut or whatever, and they ended up getting this so that they could be safe from elimination. So they still have it, and it still applies theoretically. I mean, we don't know that it doesn't, so it should theoretically still apply. So that's interesting. You know, we got that in the booklet, especially because we're doing contestant voting now. So yeah, we end up having the intro, which has been mildly updated for the current designs of the characters. So like the costume version of Red Joy-Con, right, with the Hatsune Miku costume because they felt like having one, which I mean overall it's pretty nice to like at least give a degree of separation to the two characters that all look pretty similar. So I don't actually mind Red Joy-Con being in costume. It'd be funny if it changed from time to time. They're making like a Teru costume sometime, I don't know. But either way, yep, we end up having some fellas, and Sonic decides that it's time for elimination. So, the elimination time ends up happening, and the eliminated contestant ends up being remote, who gets eliminated after the contestant vote. These are not too satisfying. I'll tell you why. So, alright, like, basically, the thing that happens with a contestant vote, right? Okay, like, with a viewer vote, you can kind of show off, you kind of don't have to do too much pre-elimination jargon, right? Because, in general, you're kind of just doing what you're doing, right? You're just kind of showcasing what the viewers voted for, right? There's not much way to preemptively do that. However, that is not true for a contestant vote. With a contestant vote, it's pretty unsatisfying to just see the outcome of a contestant vote without any preemptive to it. Right, because we don't have any reasoning to why Remote got out. Right, for example, why did Remote get out here? I don't know. why did the guys vote out Remote? I don't know. There's no reasoning that got given, right, by anybody. And that's annoying because, like, it's like, well, why? What was the reasoning? What is the explanation behind this thing that is happening? Right. And especially considering such an important thing like elimination, right? Like when a viewer votes something else, we don't need to because we get to because we have seen exactly what the viewers have seen, and we can share or disagree with a common opinion, but we can at least try to figure it out, right? However, the contestants would actively have a different common opinion than us because they deal with off-screen stuff and their personalities are different to the ones to us, right? So that's why, in general, a contestant vote is much more important that it is that we have that we have some sort of figuring out before the contestant vote itself we have scenes where the contestants maybe deliberate on who they're going to vote for. They try to figure out who they're going to vote for. They explain who they're going to vote for, right? All this stuff is important because it manages to lock into your head, and then it also gets you more into the show. Contestant vote is really good because it really gets you to sort yourself into the minds of the characters as well. It's very solid, right? Because it gets you to properly enter the mind of the characters. Now, I know that this is kind of like a non-serious show, but at the end of the day, if it's doing contestant vote, it can still do this. Right, especially now it's doing only contested vote, right? Like, if I'm not mistaken, what it used to do, this show, like, it was doing, like, a viewer vote, but if there weren't that many viewer votes, it added contestant votes onto it, which I think would be, honestly, a valid idea for a show like this that doesn't get that many votes, right? The idea of having viewer vote plus whatever the contestant would have voted, right? So that way it's, like, there's 6 default votes and then however many extra. However, like, it doesn't do it anymore. Now it's pure contested vote, so now you get to properly write out everything that you're doing, which means that you get to more you get to more properly figure out everything, right? And with that includes doing stuff like, having characters explain, having characters deliberate, having characters discuss, right? And it would be, in my opinion, a lot more entertaining, and it would be more varied because the team would change and interaction would change. It would be forcibly different than just having the same interaction where Sticker tries to do some bullshit like how they always do. Like in general, it's just... Like, it starts, the interactions, the filler that these episodes have ends up being very similar filler from that time. Like, it really doesn't change. Like, it really, really doesn't. But, which is unfortunate. But, either way, we end up going over into the challenge after, again, some chatter about who should be the team leader. Either way, it's not like the team leaders are doing a lot of leading. So, we end up going over into the challenge, which is a obstacle course challenge. You have to complete the multi-step obstacle course first, and the last team to do it is going to be up for elimination. It's a race. It's a very simple race, and how do they do it? Now, this challenge is alright in terms of, is it a good concept to have a challenge like this? In my opinion, yes. I believe that race challenges are good because, you know, it should be very clear theoretically what we're getting into. However, this one specifically doesn't do that. This one doesn't do that. With an obstacle course challenge, in my opinion, you need to kind of show us what we're getting into. You know, like, it's kind of weird because we don't know when the end of the obstacle course is. Why do I not get to know how close we are to the finish? Right? Like, a team could be ahead, and I had no idea. Was the lift at the end? Oh no, there's another thing. Was the wall at the end? Oh no, there's another thing. Right? Like, we don't know. It should absolutely show us the obstacle course before the audience. You know, like, you'll see this in some other episodes, for example. Well, okay, like, you know, the II episode, the II Guacamole remake, I think that's a pretty solid example of doing that. People don't like that episode for other reasons. However, like, in general, I think that it's a relatively good showcase of it. Like, you see, it shows you the challenge and the steps from that challenge for, like, for it. So, like, that's useful because that way you at least get to figure it out. Like, you get to understand these are the segments of this obstacle course, and now when they head into it and you see it, you're not too confused about what this is, right? Like, you get to see the contestants figure it out, but you have a more chill watching experience because you already figured it out. You don't need to figure it out with them. Right? Like, you don't need to suffer their same stresses. And it's a lot better. And also, as usual, in my opinion, again, a lot of nearly no show does this. I still believe that having UI that tells you the current progress, you know, who's ahead and who's not ahead, is massively helpful. That is my number one advocate for nearly any obvious show. Just do that. Even if it's, like, for example, showing a map from time to time with where we are, you know, having a wide map of the current positions, kind of how you know, with a modern example, BFDIE 23. You notice how BFDIE 23 sometimes shows the map and it shows where the people are kind of in the map. You see it, there you go, something like that, very useful with time to time. Even though, again, like, it's not that, it's like, it eases the viewing experience for me quite a lot with these types of challenges. Now, do I think this is okay? This is perfectly fine. This is perfectly alright, you know. It's you can tell that there was quite a bit to do because the challenge overall takes 13 minutes compared to the last challenge, it takes 4, and the challenge before that, it takes 1. So, like, in general, the amount of challenge time definitely was going up. And I mean, if we're going up at this pace, then the next challenge would have been half an hour long. The next challenge would have been a snow day level, right? So, maybe that's why episode 16 didn't happen. I don't really know, but, like, we end up having, in general, the contestants just kind of do their thing. It turns out that, okay, to be honest, the real thing that would have probably happened here, like, if the contestants didn't randomly get bored, is that realistically it's like a stalemate. To be 100% honest, this challenge is a stalemate waiting to happen. Because, I mean, you can just push each other off and then you have to drown. And then you have to come back right at the beginning. So, like, at that point, it would just be a fucking profit. Like, one person will fall and restart and then fall again. Somebody else fall and then to restart. And then every fall, you have to go all the way back to the beginning because there's no checkpoints. Which means that it just gets worse and worse. Especially when some chapters already people can't do. Right, because of, like, not being capable of climbing or whatever. So it just ends up being kind of, like, very complicated. Like, when an armless contestant lost and they don't have a help to get through the wall, what the fuck do they do? Right, so, it's a very soft lockable challenge, and especially with just how much random murders there were at the start. Like, all it takes is one person just camping and ripping a sticker every, like, 20 seconds, right? Like, it really doesn't take a lot for that team to become completely incapable, right? Like, and that's just the type of camp that gets done. But eventually, after a couple of minutes of doing it, they end up getting quite bored of doing that, so they end up, you know, working on it, getting the job done. And yeah, thankfully for some reason they have a lasso, the freaking crafters team, so that helps them out a little bit in the challenge because it overall gets the job done. On getting the fellas out of the water, especially the ones that can't immediately drown, like the Minecraft, which, I mean, they suffer hearts of damage. That is something that this episode actually showed up quite a bit. It tried to give it tried to give Dirt Block a little bit more, still a grass ball by the way. It tried to give Dirt Block a little bit more, like, proper showcase of their abilities, in the sense of like you see how they have hearts, and they use their Neverite sword, and they take damage when they're drowning, right? And then they take a bunch of hearts of damage as well, and all of that other stuff, right? Like they do all of that, and it does show it off a little bit better. So I am an enjoyer of that. For some reason, the blue Joy-Con is really fast. I'm not 100% sure why. I will point out also that Sasha is the chassis design, just as a completely random moment, because of the transparency of the purple. When you get paired up with the blue, it just looks like the PS4 collector, and that is a little bit confusing. Not much you can really do about it, but that is a detail that I would like to mention here. So yeah. Then some other components of the challenge is lasers, which people don't try to figure out how to get the lasers. For some reason, they don't know that you can, like, I mean, the laser, like, it's not like a general thing, like, the laser is gonna go upwards, like, I'm supposed to step around the laser, right? Like, one leg one side, one leg the other side. Come on, you should know how to do this. Y'all, I thought y'all were gamers. Have y'all never played Minecraft parkour in like a dungeon? No, not in a dungeon. In a Minecraft parkour in like one of those like laboratory mods, like where you have to escape Area 52 or whatever, right? Then they got all the laser protectors. Ever try to rob a bank? Come on, we should know this. We should know this stuff. But yeah, we end up having. Again, the fellas are just gaming, It's kind of one of those action-like challenges. Where there's usually not as much for me to exactly mention. But we end up discovering a couple of things. For example, Bouncy Ball has arms. Did you know that Bouncy Ball has arms? They randomly pulled them out here for some reason. Because, yeah, but they don't feel like having the arms majority of the time. Not sure why. Again, like, nobody's going to tell them. Because, like, in this show, as if you ask a valid question, you're just going to hear a shut up back. So there's really not much that you can really do about when it comes to discovering anything about this universe or anything that it stands for. However, like, it's an interesting detail for episode 16. We end up discovering, however, that the fellas managed to get past because PS4 collector has a shield that's like other cases. So that team manages to get past it using like that. Joy-Con also manages by just kind of going too fast. They're too fast with lasers, to be honest. So fair enough. Then we end up having some fellas going on the lifts. So the lifts kind of force the teams to get in at a specific order, right? They force the teams to kind of come in at a specific time advantage, right? So it's like you have this much time advantage over this team and this team. This is something that reality shows do, They kind of lock into places for a little bit and they give them a time advantage for the next section. Depending on their placements to not like over exert, I guess, too much. Like dominance or non-dominance, especially if dumb stuff happened. But yeah, we'll just point out, don't really know how Sticker's physics works. Like, gonna be 100% for real. Sticker is like, works like a paper. Except when they don't. Except when they don't feel like it. It just kind of depends. Like, I don't know. Like, have you ever tried to kick a sticker? Really, try to kick a sticker. It's not gonna go very far. Alright, so I don't understand how Sticker keeps getting absolutely launched every time anybody is. Okay, I understand that it doesn't matter, but at the same time, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Kind of weird physics out here. But yeah, we end up going at the top where you end up having to find a needle in a haystack. The first team just decides to bank on waiting for the second team to find it because they don't know how to do that. And then they just blitz it through the door because the door just opens. It doesn't depend on the team. So overall, relatively smart idea, we'll admit. But either way, they end up getting by with it. And then the last section of the challenge is a crusher that goes blah. So if anything's under it, it'll crush down, and then you get to run by for the meantime that it's rising, right? So you have to throw an object down there. You have to throw an object down there, and then you are good. You're good to go. You can run, do a sprint, and a couple of teams find out. A couple of teams don't notice it. I believe the The newbies don't, because Sasha doesn't notice it. Sasha tries running too fast, in that sense, you don't see it and gets crushed down. Sometimes you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. So that means that this team is screwed, because Sasha respawns at the beginning. So from that moment on, they pretty much lost. There's no way they can get down because of the lift. There's nothing Sasha can realistically do to get back. So they're eliminated. And at the end of the day, it's their fault. So they probably should get eliminated. Who's actually getting eliminated? I don't know. It depends on the contested vote. Because again, as I've been saying, there is no, we don't ever hear the chit chatter. Why? Again, when I need to know what this team, who are they voting for? Who would they want to vote for? Who would Whiteboard's allegiance be against? I don't know. You see, we need to know. We need the deliberation. We need the considerations. We need all of this stuff for contestant vote to be good. Otherwise it just feels random. Because when contestant vote isn't written properly, it just feels like the writer's kind of projecting. Right? If the writer being like, oh, I want this guy to get out, so I'm just gonna say that the contestants didn't like him, but I need the contestants to explain it. Because otherwise it feels like a writer decision rather than a contestant decision. When the contestants really, they wouldn't admit to anything to vote against the person, and then they suddenly do, right? This is why usually, you'll point out in contestant votes, the elimination was here, by the way. It's very rare that you end up having a contestant vote actually occur in the episode. No, sorry, in the next episode. Because usually, you'll notice, how reality shows do this, is that they then do the contestant vote in the episode itself. So realistically, the elimination should be here, and then the episode ends after the contestants have been eliminated. That is what should happen, because that's just what makes the most sense. And it ends off every episode on a climactic, important moment as well that hits big. That's kind of how it goes. When in this case it doesn't, right? So yeah. It's kind of half-assing a contestant vote, this show, right? It's kind of we're switching to contestant vote because nobody's voting, and then it doesn't adapt. You have to adapt to the contestant vote, otherwise it's just bad. That's what that contestant vote. I wouldn't know. So yeah, and that is Battle for Powers. That is absolutely the Battle for Powers. What do I think of the Battle for Powers? I think that is cool. I don't want to lie. It definitely had a big improvement from the start. However, it's a show that's very flawed at the end of the day. It's a show that's extremely flawed. It writes it sometimes doesn't know what to focus on when writing an episode. It focuses too much on useless chit chatter rather than actually important things. It doesn't know how to space out, how to time things properly. Some of the timelines of episodes are proper whack, right? Things challenges 1 minute while there's 4 minutes of useless talking, right? It's not very useful. And in general, in those talking interactions, there's a lot of them, but so many of them are just so similar and so not relevant. But it makes the show give off a samey vibe, right? So even though it has had absolutely a big, large improvement since the beginning of it, it definitely hurts itself quite. It hurts itself quite a bit, and it doesn't feel like it's perfectly polished. But hey, I don't know if episode 16. I don't know if episode 16 is ever happening. However, if episode 16 ever happens, which I don't know if it will, I would. I would hope that certain things that I pointed out here get put into thinking when writing the next episode, when making the next episode, because I don't know what's going on in the next episode. I don't know if it exists. But yeah, I'd still, interesting enough, probably consider episode 7 one of the better examples for it, because even though it's not technically very good, of course, in terms of assets and stuff, I feel like it's the episode that understood the pacing of itself relatively decent, right? That episode 7 to 8 combo, I feel like it understood itself kinda well, and it managed to do unique jokes that weren't reference humor, and do them pretty well, and it managed to have relatively unique interactions that, like, I mean, like, really, think about it. The interactions that happened in episode 7, that doesn't happen again. You know, the thing with the water doesn't happen again. They don't ever discuss that ever again. Same thing goes with this jump spray. They don't discuss that ever again. Which means that, for example, you see, those interactions are 100% original. When it's like, you know, they happen in that episode and only in that episode. When a lot of the interactions that happen in modern episodes, they feel like interactions that I've heard a million times, right, throughout the show. So basically, that's the example that I'm trying to give out. Try to make interactions more fleshed out, more unique, right? Try to make challenges like put the focal point a bit more on the challenges, because they really don't get a lot of focal point. And in general, yeah, just try to structure an episode a little bit better. You know, try to like have roughly an equal amount of time of pre-chit chatter and elimination. If you're having contestant vote, make sure that the pre-chatter is important, right? That the pre-chatter involves stuff that affects the elimination, and then have the challenge be the bulkiest main part of the episode, right? And then, like, in general, just kind of get the stuff done. All right, that's all. I shall do my outro after I've watched those the Jack and Jellyfeet duo of things, because you know, I've currently still not done that. Okay, all right. See you at the outro. Man, another monstrous day, and while yesterday barely didn't break the record for longest single day recording, today does, at 3 hours and 59 minutes of object catch-up recorded in one day. That is insanity. That is insanity. Before, the record was at like 3 hours 36 or something, but now it's been broken. Of course, there's a bit bias of the fact that I've had to review, you know, a relatively lengthy episode in the form of TPOT, which means that it's easier to take a look at a longer episode than it is to take a look at a lot of smaller ones. However, in general, I'm very satisfied with today. We took a look at some important stuff. We took a look at the oldest request, which at this point was Ancient. However, it's really hard to find a moment to cover it, because like it was like you saw it, you see it from the time, so it's really bulky, right? But we managed to get it done. It was interesting, and you know, with all of that stuff, we move, and we can hopefully head into more stuff that, you know, we need to get to in the future days. All right, for now, we're all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye.